on 97.3 The Fan.
What's good, San Diego? Welcome into Gwynn and Chris, Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Skraby, Chris Ello out, enjoying a little vacation time. Adam Klug on the ones and twos back in the studio. It is a Friar Friday this day, and what better day, last homestand, last series of the year at home, and our Friar Friday guest will be none other than Manny Machado. So, Skraby's going to have to do some kind of aerobics to get from where he is down to the dugout, where we'll conduct the interview there. But first, I'll welcome in my co-host, Matthew Skraby. How are you today, man? You doing all right? You keeping it together?
I'm sweaty, Tony. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sweaty. It is. I don't know how Sam does this with like a jacket on and a long shirt because I'm wearing a short sleeve shirt and it's been a lot so far. Yeah. But I am really happy to be here. It hasn't been a while. It's been a while since I've been down here for like a real legit show from the stadium.
Real legit show is what you have today with myself, and we have the Padres in action against the White Sox. And, you know, I know the kind of heartburn that is somehow giving everybody out there that the worst team in baseball could come in here and actually know how to play baseball. Go figure. We'll see how it all. We'll see how it all unfolds. Padres 2 games up coming into tonight's action ahead of the Diamondbacks, who have the second spot. The Mets have opened up a 2-game lead on the Atlanta Braves, who are chasing the last spot. So lots of good things going on. I think we kind of have to start somewhere elsewhere than the Padres right now. I mean, they had an off day, certainly. Joe Musgrove toes the rubber today. We'll get into that. But last night, history was made. Shohei Otani goes 50-50. And he didn't just say, all right, I'm going to get my 2 homers and I'm going to end the day. He goes 6 for 6, 3 homers, a double, or 2 doubles, right? And a single. So this is truly like MLB The Show, like on like rookie level, like where you know the cylinder thing is like super big. No matter where they throw it, it's like a homer. I promise you, the record tying homer, I swear he flicked that ball the other way, all the way into the back end of the seats there. It was ridiculous.
It seems like he does that to every home run, though.
It kind of does. Thing. I feel like he's gotten off his A swing more than I feel like anybody in the league this year. Like, what I mean by A swing is like everything is matched up perfectly. Like you hit the ball as hard as you can, you timing's right. I feel like he's done that more often than anybody else this year.
Yeah, Adam's got the 3rd home run ready to go on the screen. Let's check this one out and see how far he hit this one.
Watching this guy.
Oh my gosh! Shohei Otani! The greatest day in baseball history!
Now, you might be saying to yourself, man, that seemed over the top, but it really wasn't. By that time, it was literally his 3rd homer of the game. He had touched a little bit of all of the stadium in this particular ball game. And at one point, they panned over to my man Skip Schumaker, who was, you know, now we got lip readers everywhere, apparently.
Everywhere.
So apparently, he basically was like, bleep that. Mm-hmm. I got too much respect for this man to do that bleep. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so basically, you know, there's been some talk, why didn't he walk him? I mean, guys, if it would have been like a 1-run game, 2-run game, I even would extend you the courtesy 3-run game. Fine. But it wasn't. They were getting tapped at that point. It was 14-3, if I'm not mistaken, when he hit that homer right there. And by the way, they added 3 more runs after that. So
they did.
It was 11-3. So by fault, they added 6 more runs after this homer. So, you know, I just think that, you know, first of all, it's not a surprise Skip felt that way. That is how, you know, it should be thought of, right? You know, you don't run from a guy when you're up or when you're down 8 runs at that point. You pitch to him. You know, the situation didn't call for an intentional walk. But nonetheless, Shohei Otani sets history, and it just seemed like all of the kind of small chatter that Francisco Lindor was, it just got washed away last night.
Mm-hmm.
Like whatever conversations were being had, that goes bye-bye now.
Now, you heard, is his name Joe Davis? Yeah, Joe Davis. Joe Davis said the greatest day of all time. Is that just
Let me say,
too much?
You know, I'm pretty like critical when it comes to like things being said like that. I'm not a fan of like going overboard with saying. But I mean, 3 homers, 2 doubles, a single. I don't know if he had any
2
bags.
stolen bases.
He had 2 bags.
17 total bases in the game yesterday.
Set the rec. He set a record. Or, I mean, created his own club. It very well could be the greatest game ever played. Like in terms of what he did individually that day. I know there's some 4-homer guys out there, which is pretty cool. But I mean,
Scooter Gennett is furious
he was
somewhere
perfect.
right now.
6 for 6.
Yeah.
And he was showing you a little bit of everything he had in his bag. All right, give you a couple doubles, throw you a couple homers, steal you a couple bags. Only thing he couldn't do was pitch. And if he was healthy, we might have got a dose of that too.
Yeah. I was reading earlier because we talked about it in studio in the commercial break, and I was like, well, Acuna went 40-70 last year. Why isn't Acuna being celebrated more for that? Because it's 20 more steals than Shohei Otani and obviously less home runs. But so I found an article from someone out there, and they were saying that major leaguers liken the gap from 30 to 40 as a canyon, and a gap from 40 to 50 is like the Mount Everest size gap between those two. So,
and that's what I was telling you yesterday. Like the number 50 in terms in baseball terms, especially as with regards to homers, that's a big deal. Like 40's big, but 50's gigantic. You know what I'm saying? Like there aren't very many guys who've hit 50 homers that have throughout the history of baseball. So that's a huge number, and that's why I think it's a much bigger deal than 40-70 or whatever it was that Ronald did. By the way, we got some sound from my man Skip Schumaker on why he chose to pitch to him.
I think that's a bad move, baseball-wise, karma-wise, baseball god-wise. You go after him and see if you can get him out. And I think out of respect for the game, we're going to go after him. He hit the home run. I mean, that's just part of the deal. He's hit 50 of them. He's the most talented player I've ever seen. He is doing things that I've never seen done before in the game. And if he has a couple more of these peak years, he might be the best ever to play the game. So I just, as a fan, I wish I was in the stands, not in the dugout, seeing it. But it's, I'm proud of like the guys that were attacking him and not scared of him. And that's how you should go after it. And then he hit the home run. I mean, I know Baumann didn't want the home run to be hit, but he hit it. And so it was a good day for baseball, bad day for the Marlins, but a good day for the game of baseball.
Class act. I mean, that's why he's in the role that he's. I got to say, bunch of things went through my mind as he was talking about how proud he was of the guys that attacked him and weren't scared. For a lot of those guys, they will remember that and they'll be better because of it, right? They'll face. I'm sure they're going to face Otani again, and they're going to have those moments in the back of their mind, and it'll make them better as they go forward. You can't learn anything by being scared to go against. I mean, that's ultimately why we play this game. That's why you get to the big leagues. That's why you play, is you want to measure yourself against the very, very best. And here's an opportunity, even though you could be on clips for the rest of lifetime, you still are there to compete. And so I don't understand. I wouldn't be able to understand someone who was in that position and was scared and like didn't attack.
Yeah, I sometimes think of these things as I know that the guy who threw the pitch doesn't want to be involved with this, but at the same time, you get to say, I mean, I know it's not the greatest thing to tell people, but at the same time, you might be in the history books getting the 50th home run off of one of the best players of all time. I still think that's kind of cool, even though you gave up the home run.
If I'm not like rushing to tell anybody
I
that
knew you were gonna say
that was me who gave up the homer. But if it comes up, I'll put my hand up. Yeah, that was
Like,
me.
hey, who did you face in your career? You're gonna be like, oh well, yeah, I gave up the 50th home run to Shohei Otani.
That certainly wouldn't be how it would come up. It would be more like, hey man, weren't you on the mound that day when Otani hit it? Yeah, and I'd just keep it short, and they'd have to keep digging in order. Keep digging in order to finally get the answer out of it.
I mean, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I was on the mound that day.
He's done it to so many people in his career. It's not like he's the only guy that Shohei Otani hit a home run off of.
That's fine. I mean, I wouldn't I'm sure he won't be the only homer he hits off some of these guys. But if the conversation came up and it was like, I wouldn't be volunteering that information.
I get that.
You know what I'm saying?
I do get that because ultimately it's kind of clowning yourself that you're. But at the same time,
I wouldn't be ashamed of it. I just wouldn't be bringing it up on my own. Anyway,
I would like to apologize for a tweet I sent last night. I saw a new term for tweet that I think is hilarious. It's called a zeet. It's a X plus tweet is a zeet.
Oh, zeet. Okay.
After Shohei hit his third home run, I said, my goodness, Shohei, save some room for later. And I didn't even think about what I was saying, but I would like to apologize to the fan base. I do not want Shohei.
Oh, yeah. We're about to play
I do not want Shohei Otani to come here and hit 6 home runs, okay?
Oh, I'm sure your mentions were up there.
I was more concerned about my Willy Wonka reference than I was about the outcome of the actual Zeet. So I'm going to apologize for that Zeet, and no bad luck is coming the Padres' way, I promise.
Back to our Padres. They're in action tonight. 6:40 fireworks here tonight at Petco Park. Currently, some White Sox getting some early work, and I like this note that Sam Levitt had earlier today. He pulled it and threw it in the grid. He said, "As we entered spring training, we didn't know with certainty who would be playing left field and center field every day for the Padres. Here's what Jerickson Profar and Jackson Muir have combined to produce: 47 homers, 169 RBIs, 287 batting average between the two guys." And you know, it is something when you rewind back and think about. I don't feel like anybody was in a panic because it's early in the season. But when you go back and the uncertainty of how it looked at the beginning of spring training, right? You fast forward to like midpoint in spring training, the picture starts to become a little bit clearer, and you know you're going to have Merrill and Jackson, right? Or Merrill and Profar out there, right?
Yeah.
But then the season happens, and they take off like gangbusters. And it was just, I don't know, it just, you could not have drawn it up any better between those two guys, just going back to the very beginning of spring training.
I mean, if Jackson Merrill in spring training was turning heads the entire time, and I kept trying to make it a thing, and I get it, spring training doesn't mean that what you do in spring training is going to carry over to the regular season, but he showed all of us in spring training that he can handle this, or at least start the season on the big league team, and he's good. He's going to be, it was a huge move for AJ Preller to make.
He's certainly good, but we would be. There's just no way that you could base anything off of spring training. We see guys kill spring training consistently every year, and it looked completely different. So you're right. He had a great spring, but there is no way you could have predicted anything that we've seen. All right, we've rolled through the first segment of the day. We'll get to break, come back, talk some more Padres on the other side, plus Manny Machado at some point. We don't have an exact time yet, but sometime between 2:30 and the time that Mike Shildt is going to speak, we will have Manny on the show. So sit back, relax, enjoy. More Gwynn and Chris on the other side.
Welcome back in to Gwynn and Chris. I am Matt Skraby. Tony Gwynn Jr. and I are going to be talking to Manny Machado here, hopefully before the 3 p.m. hour starts, but we will be talking to Manny Machado today. We may have a little bit of some moving parts in the show today. We may have to hear from Mike Shildt from this morning. Ben and Woods, they interviewed Mike Shildt, so we're going to have to go down. We're going to have to set up in the dugout. It's going to be a nice, good sit-down conversation with Manny Machado. So stick with us today. We got a lot of good things planned.
Yes, please stick to us. A lot of good things planned. Manny Machado at some point later on here in the show. I was thinking about this, Scrape. You know, Otani's hitting balls into the stands. There was one video of the chaos that ensued on the 50th. I know where you're going to come down on this. But I'm going to ask anyway.
Okay.
If you're in the stands and you get an Otani ball, what are you doing? Are you giving it back? Is there an obligation to give it back? Or are you keeping it and cashing in?
The what is it? The Cub Scout in me, the honorable person in me says give it back. But the greedy, selfish person in me says keep it. And
wait, hold up real quick. For those who are watching on YouTube and you're looking at the video right now, my man is getting crushed by a table. Yeah. And one of the dudes is like holding the table like in place to keep him from moving further. It didn't stop my man. He got to that ball. You see the bodies that are all on the floor there as
the carnage
as he comes away. But here's the question, because all of us, I think, have both of those individuals in us, right? The morally sound, like do the right thing guy, and the greedy guy or gal. Which one is going to rule in that moment?
I mean, with $200,000 on the line is what I'm reading and what we read going into it. I think I'm being the greedy person because that's not just that's life-changing money for me.
I appreciate your honesty on that one.
What about you?
I think I'm giving it back, man.
I guess you're a little bit different though. You've been around baseball. It's not like. But $200,000 in your pocket—that's a lot of money, even for money back over there.
I could use $200,000 in my pocket, like pronto. I know how much those, and maybe 50-50 isn't that big a difference. It's different for each guy, right? I mean, maybe that's not the one that he's like, ooh, I gotta have it. You know what I'm saying? At this point, it seems like Otani's going to be doing things like this often. Maybe it's, homer number 400 or whatever it may be. Maybe it's something along those lines. But I would be inclined to give it back, I think.
It's the nicer thing to do. It's the more decent thing to do. Now, if this guy is being someone who's like, I need this, and this for you to get your ball back, I'm not into that. Like, if you want to pay me some money, if I get to go meet Otani or get seats in a suite or something like that. But if you're going to, demand like some of these guys do with the balls that they catch, guys and gals, if you're going to demand things, then I'm out. I mean, come on. That's ridiculous. You're just at a baseball game. The ball happened to find you.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the demanders.
The demanders.
For the record, my man who caught the ball, he has opted to walk away with it. So he's gonna get that 200 racks that you're talking about there, Scrabe. And,
Did you see on the video where he got the ball and he put it in the air and then someone tried to grab it? I'm like, if I get that ball, I am putting it somewhere where no one can grab it.
Hey, I was about to say, it would have been all on him if he got that ball snatched out of his hand after putting it in the air like that. Were you not just in the fight to get the ball? Do you think
wasn't your neck pinned to the ground by a table so that you could get the ball?
Did you not think somebody was going to try to snatch? Nonetheless, Adam? What is going on with the cameras, man? You are having a good old time with the 2 and the 3.
Because his computer has to supply the audio, so he has to be on screen, but he doesn't want to be on screen with us.
You got to be on screen today, Adam. It's all good. It's
He,
all
I was
good.
just trying to get you guys back to video you were talking
I
about.
know,
and
but
hit
I
the
was
wrong
over here like
Oh.
doing this, sliding over, trying to make sure I'm lined up in the middle.
Yes.
Nonetheless, by the way, since RBIs have become an official thing since in 1920, only one MLB player has had over the course of his career a 10 RBI day, a 6-hit day, a game with 5 extra base hits, a game with 3 homers, a game with 2 stolen base. You know who that is?
Shohei Otani.
Shohei Otani, the only
One guy. One
guy's
in
ever
the
done that.
entire history of Major League Baseball, which is incredible.
So we get close to the end. These official who they think is going to make the playoffs, they start coming up with rankings, right? And one of the rankings that posted today was best rotations for the playoffs. Now, the good part about this is they already consider the Padres as a playoff team, even though it hasn't officially been clinched.
Yeah.
But they rolled through kind of the top pitching staffs that will be into the playoffs. Where would you think the Padres are ranked? This is a Yahoo Sports.
Is this in the entirety of their
Entirety,
pitching staff?
national
not
and
the
American?
Well, no, not the rotation only. It's everything.
That's a good question. Let me check.
I believe it's everything.
It is everything.
Okay.
Wait, no, let me check. Computer's a little slow today, guys.
I
Give
think
me a
it's
little
everything because I kind of briefly looked at this earlier.
No, it's not. It's not everything.
It's just the
starting,
rotation.
Starting rotations.
Oh, yeah, it says it right there in the URL. I would think the Padres would be up there. I would, like in the top
I didn't
5
ask you
at
where.
least.
I need a number.
I would say, let's see, Phillies. I would say number 4.
Close.
Where are they?
3.
3 behind the Phillies and who else?
Hold on, I told you my screen is taking forever to pop up now. Phillies are 1. Who do you think is 2?
I'm just going to say maybe the team that was Astros.
Good, Skraby, you are learning some things, my man.
I am.
That's-
I mean, Framber and the Ben guy from the other day. I don't remember his last name. But, yeah. Ben Johnson
the Ben
was his
guy
name,
from
maybe?
the other day.
I don't know.
Hunter
But yeah.
Brown.
Hunter Brown, that's it.
Yusei Kikuchi, Spencer Arrighetti, and Ronel Blanco, who we didn't see in that series. And I skipped Verlander because we didn't see him in that series either. But they're 2. Padres are 3. They have the Padres as the 3rd best rotation, and they only list the 4. Yet they still have them as the best rotation. They're one of the best rotations out there. Follow the Padres, the Braves, who very well may not get in. Yankees at 5, Mets at 6, Royals at 7, Dodgers at 8, Diamondbacks 9, Milwaukee 10. So
Where are the Dodgers? Did you say them? Sorry.
they're 9. Or no, they're 8.
9.
Excuse me, they're 8. The
Seems
Padres
like
are 3, Dodgers are 8, Diamondbacks are 9 in terms of starting rotations.
Have the person that put together this list, did they check and see what the Dodgers had going on in their rotation right now? Because it's not the greatest in the world. Who's worse than they are?
Diamondbacks, Brewers, Tigers, Orioles, Twins, Guardians.
All right, well, they have to put the Dodgers in the top 10 or no one's going to click on the article. So that's just how it works. That's just how it works. They have to put the Dodgers in the top 10.
Oh, that's crazy.
I saw Z. I know we need to get downstairs, but I saw Z yesterday from a Dodgers fan saying, "Guys, we're not going deep in the playoffs because of our
Are we
pitching."
really going to try to make this Zeke thing like
I think
fit?
I'm trying to make it a
You're
thing.
trying to make it happen?
Do you
The
not
Zeet?
like the Zeet?
Yeah, I'm already tweets already ingrained in me. Huh?
I guess I'm just said we don't call it X, so why are we calling it a Z? Because every article you read
that's
now,
a good point.
it's posted on X in parentheses, formerly
Formerly
known as
known.
Twitter.
I've noticed
Every
that.
single time. Like it's been over a year. When are we going to stop doing that?
I definitely noticed that as well. All right, let's get to break. Skraby and I are going to head down to the dugout to get ready for this interview. Meanwhile, Mike Shildt joined Ben and Woods earlier this morning. You guys will get a chance to hear that interview on the other side. More Gwynn and Chris.
home in baseball are very rare. With no travel,
Yeah.
I mean, throughout the course of the season, you may get 2 or 3 of them. This late in the season, Mike, I'd imagine that's a valuable day yesterday. How you doing, and how did you spend an off day at home?
Yeah, it was nice. I'm doing well. Hope you guys are doing well also.
Yeah.
It was a relaxing day. Caught up on a few personal things that can slip by as the season goes, and enjoyed the beautiful San Diego weather, and went to Michael King and his wife Sheila's event last night for type 1 diabetes they're raising money for, and that was a really well done event for a great cause, and did a lineup and getting ready for today's game.
Now, before we get into it, Woodsy doesn't really want to ask you, but he's got to bring it up because you've been dealing with the rule changes.
It's kind of hard to believe you don't want to ask.
I know, but he doesn't. This is actually something he doesn't want to ask.
All right.
You've dealt with like rule changes and the 3-batter minimum and everything in baseball. So he's coaching his little league team, and they have laid on this list of rules that he cannot even believe, and he needs just some help here. He needs some help managing his little league team, his Pinto League team.
They laid these rules on me, Shildt, about guys having to play a certain amount in the infield, in the outfield, and spend time on the bench. I just wanted to. I'll take the Pod Sunday. You take the Durham Bulls in LCYO League. I don't know that anybody could figure these rules out. I realize, and I know you spent time, coaching youths at the start of your career. What is your advice for burgeoning coaches in the game of baseball, 6- and 7-year-olds?
I think the most important thing at that age is they enjoy it. I think it's really kind of no different than our guys. You want them to make sure when they come to practice or they come to the ballpark, they're excited about it. So I think that starts there. If they're not looking forward to it and they're not going to enjoy themselves, then it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge to whatever you're trying to accomplish. But get them to enjoy it. No labels. It really bothers them. It happens younger and younger at the youth levels where young players are being graded and evaluated and even cut. And we know it's competition, but as an A player, B player, C player, it's interesting. When I ran an academy, we did some travel teams, 100 years ago, and we had a really good group. We started with a group of 15-year-olds because I thought that was time where players should start to maybe, if they were serious about it still at 15 and they were wanting to go play collegially, I'd do my best to help them. So we put together this really, really good group of players that ended up doing some pretty cool things as a sidebar. But anyway, I got a guy named Brian Keegan, who at the time was an area scout and a pro scout with Tampa. And at the time he was with Houston. I said, "Hey, Keegs, would you evaluate this group and give me a little bit of a write-up on the guys, So we did a workout, and he came up to me and says, I got nothing for you. I said, you're a great evaluator. What do you mean? He said, well, yeah, I think I'm a pretty decent evaluator. And the guy really is a great judge of talent. He's rightfully in the profession. So he said, man, for me, it's too hard for me to judge what a 15-year-old player is going to be. And it just resonated with me clearly because here's a guy that's really good at evaluating talent. And at 15, he had a hard time identifying players. They grow, they mature differently. And at that point, we didn't label anybody. We let kids play. And I think it's a real mistake for kids to be, I'm only a this, I'm only a that. I can't play this. Let them play everywhere. Let them enjoy it. Let them have good experiences. Teach off what they can do. And then they can learn to think and play for themselves, and they'll enjoy it more.
It's a great answer. Great answer. So Keegs will not come out and evaluate the Pinto Durham Bulls on Sunday.
He would not.
All right,
he would
good.
not.
Then I guess I shouldn't either.
All right, let's start with something
Just
kind
let them have fun, man.
All right.
And, let them run around.
I want to start with something kind of fun because I was down there on Monday, and all of a sudden I look and go, that's Albert Pujols.
Yeah, crazy.
And he was there with his daughter to see Manny play, which was cool. But I saw you spending some time with him on the field, all that time together in the Cardinals organization. And I wanted to ask you, obviously, there were a lot of things that turned Albert Pujols into a Hall of Famer, mashing the ball, picking it over there at first base. But what did you see in Albert, and then what do you see maybe in some of your own players that makes a guy successful in the big leagues to that level, to that Hall of Fame level?
Hunger, competitive spirit, drive. I mean, talent clearly is there. But, if you want to put together seasons, you want to contribute to winning teams, put together seasons, put together a career where you stack up numbers and get the most out of your physical ability, you give nothing away. And Albert was I talked to him, got to know him, consider him to be a really good friend. He's a great guy, wonderful human being, does a lot of great things for community and charity. But I also learned by watching him. And I remember after he won his second MVP, I was just, I'm always curious. I just want to study people because, people's actions are going to speak louder than their words. And I was like, all right, he won his second MVP. He's coming to spring training. How's he going to go about it? And I remember being in the first spring training game, and I'd gotten to a point in the big league camp where I'd gotten, a little more comfortable to be around, and, it was a rite of passage kind of to get into it. But anyway, I'm sitting right beside Albert, and spring training games are starting. This is like 2008 or 9, whatever year it was. And I'm just getting a feel for like, okay, what's this cat going to be like, And he always had his towel. Of course, it was, even humid at that time of year in March, late March in Jupiter. And he's just scowling and stalking the pitcher. And, like I say, first spring training game, people are enjoying it, having a good time. Not to say guys aren't paying attention, but it's just, it's loose. And this guy was absolutely just stalking this dude. And he gave nothing away. And I watched him if you wanted to find Albert at spring training, 7:00, he was going to be with Dave McKay in the cage doing his routine every single day.
Wow. And
you walked in and you wanted to watch it. It was great, but he wasn't going to be talking. He wasn't going to be hanging out. He wasn't going to be BSing. He was going to be working. And he just never gave anything away. And we have a lot of players that are very similar to that. They love competition, and they love paying attention to the game and seeing the game and getting after it.
It's a great answer, great player. It was. I had no idea he was going to be there, and he walked out, and I was like, "That's the machine," and he's right there in front of me. You're going to love this one, Shildt, because I got chewed out yesterday on the Padres roundtable by Tony Gwynn Jr. Because I tweeted about Jerks and Pro. I love Profar so much, but the bunt in the third inning, and he chewed me out yesterday on the roundtable. I'm ready for you to chew me out here, but my question to you is, knowing we all know this about Pro, we know he plays his game, we know you let him play his game. If there's a situation where Pro comes up in that situation again, maybe different circumstances, you as the skipper, would you ever let him know through Tim Leeper or somebody else, don't bunt? We don't want you bunting here. We want you to swing away, Pro, because we like what you can do, or is he just kind of free to roam, I guess?
So Tony Gwynn didn't satisfy your answer.
I guess I'm a glutton for punishment, Skip, I guess.
I don't know, man. It's a fair question. I'm just curious. No, I understand the question, but I'm going to go back to what I was saying about, and clearly different levels.
Sure.
But my encouragement to the youth level. Your job ultimately is to help players understand the game and to teach them the game. Regardless of the level you're going to be at, 6, 7-year-olds, clearly a different, teaching level. But as you get to higher levels of baseball, one of the biggest things you can do, because what ends up happening when you let them play the game and you teach through the game, is you develop players that are confident and trust themselves.
Yeah. And
they know that you trust them. The other thing that nothing's nothing's absolute in this game, and that's where I think we can get in trouble. Not to say this is always the right way. What I'm telling you, I'm just telling you the way I see the world.
Sure.
And it's worked for me. And when I say nothing, everything can look the same, but the beautiful thing about the game is the depth of layers that go into the visions. And so when people look at something in every situation in an absolute way, like he can't bunt there, he shouldn't be bunting there, he should be doing X or Y. That's fair. That's a fair question. I can understand why you'd ask the question. But if you look up and recognize, like, I don't live in Profar's body.
Sure.
But Drax, Pro, as most people know, played in 2 Little League World Series championships, right? Won one, lost one. Okay, so when he was 11 and 12, he's been playing high-level, competitive, meaningful, top of the level that he's at baseball games. And he's been doing that since he was 11 and 12 years old. So he's been doing that for 20 years, right? There's some intuition about the game that takes place after that period of time, right? I don't see this guy very well. I'm not feeling this good. Yeah. I've got some intuition about Valdez being a guy that's really tough. He's on the ground a lot. He's tough to score on. We want to get an early lead. We got a good bullpen. So all these factors, and then like I said, how he sees him, how he feels, how he knows the guy behind him swinging the bat. So all these are pretty big variables. By the way, the guy behind him is Manny that day. So those are the things that when you have intuitive players that know the game, see the game, and I say this a lot, championship players think and do for themselves, then that trust factor allows them to be free and play and not get on and later and be like, well, I don't see that guy. I'm not saying that was the case with Profar, but yeah. And then there is discussions. There's always discussions, going into games, and players have a game plan. And, that's the thing that's beautiful about it is situational, and there is communication about what and why. So longer answer to your question, but
it's a great answer.
Yeah, and I think it makes a lot of sense because, Woods, you've been doing radio for a while now, and you've probably had someone who says, hey, the numbers tell you should be teasing this in this segment. You go, I know, though. I know my audience. I know better. Yeah. And you do it your way.
Sure.
And someone will criticize. That's not how you should do it, Woods, but you do it your way because you have the experience. And I think that's what Mike is saying.
And that's the thing that is also can be challenging, right? As you do something that, Tony would say, manage with your gut, don't cover your butt. What, based on your experience, or a player knows, and you trust the player to go perform.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always work out. But the second you do something that's against some kind of perceived norm or absolute, or you open yourself up, and that's the gig, man. But the multiple layers of understanding the why is really where I live, at least.
It's such a great lead in, I guess, Shildt, to the next question I had is that, a team, you'll see it, and I don't want to name any teams, but we've all seen it. Like a team will play a certain way in the regular season, and then the playoffs come, and obviously I've got no idea. We have no idea what it's like to play or manage in a game of that much magnitude and pressure. I guess tempting is not the right word, but I guess maybe how tempting is it to tighten up a little bit? While, you got to stay loose as the skipper. They got to stay loose as players, but obviously the pressure's on. How hard is it to continue to play a little free and easy when, the clock strikes October?
It's a fair question, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It's not, it's not a challenge, but what I look for every day, whether it's the first game in Seoul, Korea, or a game in April or May or whenever, I prepare every day like it's a playoff game. Like, my preparation will not change today or 2 weeks from now or the end of October. The game's a game. I owe the opportunity every day to be fully prepared and to stay present and to compete in the moment and to take it all with every situation, be on task and on point. And that way, when you get to, big moments or big games or whatever the case may be, you just normalized, the game and, playing the game and doing what the game calls for, as Toddy talks about. When you do that, you just get lost in the competition. Then that's all you can do. It's people like, oh, you want to bring more, you want to do more, you got to do more. Cause no, man, you do it all year. You do it every day. You do it in every circumstance. And you just, like I said, you normalize excellence to be prepared and regardless of a situation. I owe that to the club, and owe it to the people that show up and support us, and owe it to the organization to be on point at every turn. And that's regardless of circumstance.
That being said, and this is the last thing for me, knowing that you're preparing for tonight, playoff game one at a time, you're just trying to win as many as possible. At this time of year, I'd imagine you have to have some forethought, with what is coming up. Playoffs, setting up, making sure guys are set up and ready for a big series. What are those conversations like in terms of strategic planning as you now get close to October?
We haven't accomplished anything
Okay.
yet, So we just keep moving down the run. Keep playing, keep going about it. There will be a time soon that we're looking forward to. That now you start to have a more clarity of what the picture looks like. But right now it's play today, get after today, and shake hands at the end of the day.
Not yet. All right, that's fair enough. All right, good luck this weekend. I know I don't have to worry that you're taking. We don't even have to ask you. We know you're taking the White Sox as seriously as you'd be taking the Dodgers or any other team. So good luck this weekend against the White Sox. It's been an incredible season, especially at home. I know the fans want to just kind of say thank you this weekend. It'll be big crowds and everything. So what a fun year this has been, and we'll talk to you next week when you guys are getting ready for that last series in Arizona.
Sounds great. Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks,
there
Skip.
he is. The skipper, Mike Shildt, our manager's report.
It's a new season with new
You been, man?
Been good. Yeah, I just moved back here end of May, so kids are getting settled into school, and yeah, it's just great being closer to family. And I think my heart's always been here in this city.
I mean, obviously, being that you just moved back, I'm sure you've caught some of the wind of what's going down at Petco Park. I mean, you're still, relatively close removed from this game, but I'm sure you've been able to catch a little bit of it. What's been your thoughts watching the Padres do their thing?
Yeah, I mean, the energy that's surrounding this town reminds me a lot of 2019. One of the amazing things about everything that I was going through at the end of my career is that it made me realize how impactful that run was to the community. And to kind of see, the excitement, see the sellout crowds on TV. My nieces and nephews are all like, hey, let's turn on the Padres game. It's pretty special. And, I think they're right in the thick of it here. And, we were talking earlier. I mean, October's already started for them.
Yeah,
and, I'm kind of excited to plug in and watch from afar.
I think, to your point, you go back to 2019 and you guys go on that run. If those who may not remember, that year you guys got off to a pretty slow start. And it came on late. Just talk a little bit about once it changed over for your guys' team, the energy that begins to build. Just talk a little bit about that and I'm bringing that up because we're watching a Padre team that seemingly kind of has whatever it is, that it factor, they have it right now.
Yeah. No, I think, there was other years, 2012, was it 2014, like where we won the division and we had that bye. And like that was really hard to really like comprehend because you weren't, we won it and we had regular season to play and then we had a bye. And now with this structure, it's kind of like you have to be playing your best baseball right to the finish. Right. And, when we got the wild card game in 2019, that rebound really started months earlier. And it came to the point where we had just great veterans on the team who really brought everybody together. And we just pulled for each other. We were having fun. We didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know if we were going to get in, if we were going to keep going. It was just one pitch at a time. And that was the goal. It was just, are we going to win pitches? Are we going to play the game the right way? And really looking at that as a way to springboard. And then, go figure. It takes one bad hop with Grisham.
Right.
And then it was like the rest is history. So,
I mean, you talk about one pitch, at a time. I mean, we pretty much hear that from Mike Shildt on a daily basis. I think people get frustrated with it, but it's really how you have to look at things when you get to this time of year. We'll get to some more baseball stuff, Major League Baseball stuff. You're going to be with us for a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about what has your attention now. I mean, both of us are proud Aztecs, and the college structure in itself is beginning to change a little bit. And just kind of talk a little bit about what you've got going on, what you're passionate about right now, because I think it's pretty important.
Yeah, I think all this time, being on the East Coast and being focused on my own career, I took a lot of pride. I think one of the most often asked questions that I got as a professional from fellow teammates was, what was it like playing for Tony Gwynn? And I think that impact was really on a national stage. And then you kind of see, the basketball program doing really well. And I played with a lot of guys from SEC schools who showed that kind of pride. And I think for me, my parents being alumni, coming from here, getting a chance to play for my favorite player all time, there's a desire in my heart to really, help the baseball program in whatever way I can. And, it's going to be a multifaceted approach. And I think the NIL era has a lot of influence, and we'll see how it all shakes up. But right now, it's just trying to re-engage with the alumni, get them back together, and seeing where we can take this thing. I'm a firm believer that all the pieces are in place for the San Diego State baseball to be a national contender year in and year out.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I think we've all at least thought at some point while we were there and since we've been gone, because there's no doubt the talent is here. Now, Sean Cole is the head coach at San Diego State. We had him on last week to talk a little bit about the decision for the Aztecs to move to the Pac-12, which will start here, 2026, I believe it is?
Yeah, 26.
2026. Have you had conversations with Coach Cole?
Yeah, I've had a lot of lengthy conversations with Sean, and I think his heart's in the right place. And, I really believe that, he really wants to see this program get to the next level. And that's all you can really ask for is somebody who's committed to the program and that who wants to be there. Like, this is their dream job. I know it was Tony's dream job. And I think that's what the program deserves. As far as my involvement, I kind of just told him, I said, hey, like, I'm moving back. I got, 3 girls and I'm busy with that. But if you need me to come down and work with some guys, I'll be there. And really for me, it's just about creating this infrastructure, this network, and getting these guys back connected. That's one thing that, one thing I looked forward to for years was that, season was over whenever it was, and I'd come back and I'd be there for the Aztec baseball golf tournament. And I'd get a chance to see a bunch of guys. And then, a couple of years ago, I started to hear that. I was like, oh, they're not doing it anymore. And so that's why I kind of decided to like springboard it myself. And, we're starting one on November 15th out at Steel Canyon, and really just trying to get the community back involved and get them a chance to know the current program and support that program.
November 15th, you guys heard it there. I will certainly be there. This is for Aztecs out there. This is important. And I think the thing that you and I have spoke about on a couple of different occasions, we spoke about it a little bit earlier before we came on. This isn't, you're looking for small dollar donors in this. It's not a pull out your checkbook and give us everything that you got. This is kind of how some of these NIL programs are built, is off of these small dollar kind of donations, correct?
Yeah. I mean, San Diego State, there's 500,000 living alumni. And I would like to think, growing up here in San Diego, I obviously know how impactful your dad's legacy is. And super special for me to be able to give back and hopefully get Tony Gwynn Stadium in a place that really honors his legacy. And that's the ultimate goal for me right now, is to, have something there to give back to the current players and set them up for success in the long term.
We'll do our best to get the information out, moving forward. But certainly something I think both of us find important, and we'll keep pushing to try to keep the word going. Now, let's talk a little bit about your experience at San Diego State, because clearly it's pretty important to you. I think it's part of the reason why you decided to make this move. Talk a little bit about your time at San Diego State and why it was so impactful and important to you.
Yeah, I mean, it was there was a major transformation that happened when I was there. Growing up as a kid, my dad would always take me to San Diego State baseball games. I mean, I remember, when Dietz was coaching there, I remember watching you, Royce Ring, Aaron Harang, all these guys that you just kind of like idolize as a kid. And to have that opportunity, number one, to wear the red and black, and number two, to play for your dad, who was my favorite player, and my freshman year was the year he got inducted in the Hall of Fame. It's just it's really near and dear to my heart. And I think the San Diego community as a whole, they're very much attached to Tony Gwynn. He's kind of synonymous with San Diego, and I think just coming back here, it just shows that baseball, like, this is a baseball town now.
Yeah, it is.
I was on the East Coast, Chargers left, and I play fantasy football now, and it's like, I'm not really like a Chargers fan, even though I like the Harbaugh hire.
Right.
But this is a baseball town, and I'd like to think that San Diego State baseball is, almost like the little brother of the Padres, and especially with that connection to Tony.
Talk about your transformation, because I don't think a lot of people know this. I mean, I think a lot of people came onto the scene when you were, sophomore, junior, and you were making all the noise, but it wasn't easy for you when you got to San Diego State.
No, and I mean, it just goes down to the culture that your dad created. I was coming in as a freshman. I was like 30 pounds overweight. I mean, I wasn't a terrible high school player. My numbers weren't very good, but, I went from 88 to 90. I feel like I could command the baseball, command the breaking ball, and just literally got punched in the face week 1. Never worked out before.
That
nothing.
condition is no joke.
And it was the easy route would have been like, this just isn't for me. But one of the guys that was really influential when I was there was Bruce Billings. He was a senior at the time, and I distinctly remember this moment where I'm throwing up in the ice plane. I'm not getting through the running, and these upperclassmen are they come over and they're carrying me. They're carrying, making sure I finish the lap, and that was really eye-opening to me because that's like the true sense of team.
Yeah,
is that you're only as strong as your weakest link, and I didn't want to be that weak link. I wanted to prove to them that I was there for them and I had their back, and that's where it really motivated me to just put in all the extra work. And those are things that you can control. Like I can't control that. That led to me throwing much harder, and that but at the same time, it's like you have to look back on every single moment in your playing career and just ask yourself, did I do everything that I possibly could?
Right.
And if you honestly say you did, then you can live with the outcome.
That is such an interesting thing because even the part after you decided I didn't want to be the weak link, it still was some time in between that time and the guy you became the following year, correct?
Yeah, I mean, they, Rusty Filter was there, and, it started out, I remember we went up to, like, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo for a 3-game series. I didn't have a role, and, we kind of got knocked around up there, and then, Bruce Billings was the closer at the time, and then they basically made the choice, like, he needs to come back in the rotation. And Rusty told me, he's like, hey, I think you're gonna be our closer, and I don't care. Like, we're not pulling the job from you. You go out there and give it everything you have. And it really just helped me slowly. And at the time, I didn't understand.
Paul Skeens kind of reminds me a little bit of what you went through. If you haven't spoke to him, if you had a chance to speak to him, what kind of advice would you have for him?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny because I was kind of at the early stage of like the next, let's hype up every prospect, right? And
yes, you were.
Yeah, and I just looking from afar, it's like you don't, I didn't really understand what was going on at the time. I was young, and I was like, I felt really uncomfortable being in the clubhouse and being around these guys that I idolized, these veterans. I mean, I'm throwing to Pudge Rodriguez as a rookie. And it was just weird to me. It didn't really sit
well.
That all
the attention was on you.
Yeah,
and you had these vets that had been in there for a while.
And it's just, it's easy to be, labeled the savior of the franchise. And, that's a lot of weight that you have to put on, that you could put on yourself. But I would say just like, you just have to enjoy it. Like there's going to be highs, there's going to be lows. And it's all about just finding those ways to get better every single day. Like this is just a long career. His next start, it's not just that start. Like there's many more starts down the road, and just really look at it from the perspective like, this is going to be a long career, and I just want to know at the end of the day that I, turned over every stone and I gave it everything I possibly could.
Now, Stephen, you were built up old-fashioned, right? You talked a little bit about getting in the weight room, kind of changing your whole body structure, really. How much analytics did you actually get to participate in, if you will, and how much did you like it or didn't like it?
Yeah, I think that the analytics part, especially from pitching, one of the things that, I had a pitching coach, Steve McCaddy, early on in my career, and he would always talk about paralysis by analysis. And I think with that, when you get young guys, I think it's very easy to have the analytics part change who you are as a pitcher and what makes you successful. I would use more so just like the data from a scouting perspective.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is that like, when you're in college and you only give up like a couple home runs in a 3-year career, and then you get, clipped a few times, you're like, oh man, like this doesn't feel right. And so the immediate thing is to like start to tinker and start to change, and then you start to, I need to throw 60 pitches in the bullpen in between, and then I got to figure it out. And when you have a long career, you start to realize that you're going to give up home runs, and then when you're going to give up home runs, it's how can you pick out where your outs are in the lineup, how can you stay away from slug. And that's really the thing that really helped me, was just trying to stay away from slug, and it's like really using my pitches and my sequences to keep the ball in the yard.
Give it off the sweet part of the bat.
Yeah, and but at the same time, when you got 2 strikes, like, know how to punch a guy out. Don't wait around, don't mess around. It's like, boom, put him away.
You mentioned you came up pretty quickly after you got drafted, and you did have a lot of the eyeballs on you. And listen, having been in clubhouses, I know that could rub people the wrong way to no bad doing on your own. Who were like your mentors when you came up? Like, who were the guys that kind of put their arm around you?
Yeah, well, I would say, obviously, Ryan Zimmerman, Zim was great, and he's always more like the quiet type, and then but he was always there to include you with a lot of the stuff, like, away from the field, a lot of the team building things. I would say, like, the one guy who, like, we kind of, like, our personalities, like, he's got a very dry sense of humor, but as I've gotten older, I've learned to, like, accept it and, like, enjoy it. But Jordan Zimmerman,
I can see
he is a character, and his family and my family are still really close. They were out here for 4th of July with us, and we're already talking about planning another trip together. But he was a guy that, like, as a young pitcher, I mean, he kept it very, very simple. And it was just, he had that bulldog mentality. Yeah, and it was like, I'm going to make you beat me. And that's something that, at the end of the day, like, if you go out there and do that, like, you can take it. It's not like, second guess, man, I should have thrown that pitch, I should have thrown that. It's like, it doesn't matter, whichever one you're committed to and you have the most conviction with.
My question, we talked about Paul Skeens, and we have a pretty good chance at Rookie of the Year here in San Diego. I'm not going to ask you to choose who's going to win, but what has Jackson Merrill shown you this year in his rookie year and leading the team, playing center field, all of that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard thing to do. I think when you get the first taste of going through to the finish line, especially when you come from shortened minor league season, or like with Skeens, like college season and stuff, that there's going to be some I guess physical breakdown at some point, but when you're staying consistent with that and you've kind of proven that you belong, that's one thing that it doesn't come along very often. And in a way, I feel like it's it can be that could be a little bit harder from a position player standpoint, because starting pitcher, like, you can go out there and be lights out, but you're pitching once every 5 days, 5-6 days. And, when you start to, like, change the rotation around just for a long-term health perspective, like, those position players, they're grinding, they're playing through injuries. And to be able to have that, professional sense and, like, feel to still go out there and perform, it's impressive when you see a guy that young be able to do that.
Yeah.
All right, that was Stephen Strasburg joining Tony and I in studio yesterday. Thanks again to Stephen Strasburg for stopping by and giving us all the time that he did. It was very cool meeting him. Like, in this job, you come across people sometimes that you just never think that you're going to meet, but he was just an everyday dude. He came back, and before the show, we were sitting down with him just kind of talking about what we wanted to go over, and then we started talking fantasy football, and he started talking about the Padres and all of that. So it was really fun to have Stephen Strasburg in. Hopefully we can get him on more in the coming future. I am Skraby. Tony is down on the field waiting for Mike Shildt. We just got done interviewing Manny. So when we get back, we are going to hear from the leader of the Padres, Manny Machado. We asked him a bunch of questions. And, so Manny Machado, when we get back here on 97.3, The Fan.
From the
new father?
Oh man, it's awesome. It's awesome. It's a lot. It's definitely a lot, but it's great, man. I mean, coming home after games, watching him smile, 0 for 4, 4 for 4, all feels the same.
Yeah.
It feels great, and even in the mornings, I'm a big morning person. I used to like to sleep in, and obviously that's changed a little bit.
Team no sleep.
Yeah, it changed a little bit, but it's good waking up in the morning, see him smile, playing with him for a little bit before you go to the yard, and yeah, man, it's been fun.
Now, Tony had told me, because I asked him, like, does anything change for you in your daily routine once you have a kid? And Tony said, no. When I get home from work, I'm going to be my wife is going to hand me the kid. Now, what is your situation? Do you just get the drop off as soon as you walk in the door?
No. I mean, yes and no. I want to spend as much time as I can with them. Obviously, it's people don't really realize. I mean, we're gone for 7-8 days, and we don't really get to see him. So whenever I had the opportunity to be with him, you kind of just take that moment in and enjoy it. But my routine has been the same. Obviously focusing on baseball's number one and priority, obviously. But when I'm getting worked on at home, working out and stuff, he's around. He's on top of me sometimes. I put him on there just to spend as much time as I want, because obviously, we're gone and on a road trip, and now I won't see him for 6 days, and it's tough.
Yeah, it's not something that people think about often as it pertains to athletes and especially baseball, how much we're gone. Let's talk a little bit about the season. You're finishing up your 6th season here as a Padre. I would have to think this has been amongst the most fun seasons you've been a part. Just talk about what it's been like from the beginning to this point and kind of the chemistry you guys have built.
Yeah, man, it's been awesome. Obviously this year, I think that the closest year was that COVID year,
okay.
Where it was just us here, right. But this year, man, it's been different. The chemistry that we have with the group of guys. Oh man, it's just different. I honestly don't even know how to describe it.
Right.
I really don't, man. I mean, I think the closest to that I could say is we're all pulling on the same rope. We're all pulling for each other. I mean, you come in here, I think everyone's on the top step cheering on for, McCoy trying to get his first hit and up there trying to get down the bunt. Peralta up there, Solano. I mean, 1 through 9, 1 through 15. I
mean, we saw you come out on the steps when Lockridge got his butt saying, like, I need that ball.
Yeah, let's get the ball. I mean, we're all pulling for each other, man, and
awesome.
it's fun. It's fun coming to the clubhouse every day. Everyone's always happy. Everyone's, checking up on each other. We're hurt. We're banged up. We know what we're going through. And we're just in it together, man. I mean, at the end of the day, this is all we got right here is this family inside this clubhouse, and we're taking the next step on being together as a team.
Talking to Manny Machado here for Friar Friday, 97.3 The Fan. And what is it about this time of year that brings out the best baseball in you? Because, early in the year, you got the people on TV saying he's starting slow, but you have never wavered. You're always like, hey, I'm Manny Machado, things are going to work out. So what is it about this time of year?
I mean, it's this year's been different, obviously, for me because of the surgery. So this offseason was a little tricky for me. I couldn't really have the same offseason I've always had to prepare for this time of the month. But every year, I mean, I know what I put into it in the offseason, how much I work, how much extra I put into it, that I know, yeah, it's going to be ups and downs, but my strength, my mentality is going to be ready for the end of the year. And you see the finish line, you see the finish line, and you just try to empty out the gas as much as you can, and just trust yourself. We've had spring training, we've had at-bats, we've had a lot of time in the cage to work on your things. So at this point, is just go. I mean, don't think about it. Just go up there, swing the bat, play good defense, play base running. You just be prepared and go out there and enjoy yourself. And I mean, I hate to say it, but every year I know where I'm going to be at. At the end of the year, I know where, my goals are mentally, where I want to hit, how many home runs, how many runs I want to drive in. You kind of know that goal in the back of your head, and you're going to be there at the end of the year. Whether it's you're struggling early on, like I did this year, but you just trust the process at the end of the day, and I think that's the hardest part of this. And I'm trying to teach Jackson the same thing. Just trust the process, man. Just trust it, and at the end of the year, it's going to be there. It sounds cliche, it really does, but it's the honest truth. You just got to trust the process, and let's just let it come to you.
Lead guy Manny Machado here with us on Friar Friday, and Manny, you're pretty well known around these parks for your kind of stoic demeanor, right? We talked a little bit about early in the season. How do you block out the noise? Because it's one of the things that frustrates me as a former player, listening to a lot of the noise out there. I'm a big believer in the back of a baseball card, and yours is as consistent as they come. How do you block out that noise if you even hear the noise? How do you block it out and just keep doing what you do?
It's tough. It's tough, obviously. Sometimes when things aren't going great, I think it's the toughest. It's the toughest. I think this year we've been lucky that we have a good team. We've been playing really good baseball. And at the end of the day, it's about winning baseball games.
Right.
When things are going well and the team's winning, you don't really. I don't care what I did.
Yeah.
I don't care if I'm not. If we're winning games, I'm all right. I know where I'm going to be at the end of the year, right? So. Last year was a little bit different. I think we had a little bit more pressure. We weren't winning so many games. We had so many hot streaks, cold streaks, up and down, right about 500 battling. So I think you put a little bit more pressure on it, and you start hearing a little bit more of the outside noise. But this year's just it's like I said. You know where the baseball card's going to be. You know I'm going to go out there. I'm going to post every single day. I know I'm going to get my quality at bats. I didn't think I was going to get to 30 home runs, but here I am. I'm one away, which is awesome. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's this team's winning, and I think that's all that matters. That's all that matters, and you continue to win and provide and try to win by hitting home runs like we did the other day, win by making good defensive plays, or even win by getting, taking an extra base or stealing a base.
Which you guys do a lot of.
So whatever way we could possibly try to win, I think that's the most important part, and I think that's how you block out the noise.
Talking to Manny Machado here for Friar Friday, 97.3 The Fan. And Shohei Otani made history yesterday. He went 50-50, and he was 6 for 6, 3 home runs, all of the above. What's the difference between a 40-70 season like Ronald Acuna Jr. had and a 50-50 season like Shohei Otani is having?
Man, I don't know, man. They're both impressive. They're both impressive. Let's be honest. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, it's the difference is one played, one's DH. Right?
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest difference. You have Acuna going out there playing every single day, playing right field, Gold Glove caliber, outfield, stealing that many bases. I mean, it's hard, dude. I mean, I've never hit 40 home runs, so I can't tell you what that feels like. But I mean, I bet it feels great. And obviously, no one's. I don't think anything Otani does now seems to impress people or surprise people, right? I mean, he could do it all. I mean, pitch, hit. I think the only thing he has left is Cy Young, which he's probably going to try to come and do it next year.
Yeah.
But man, it's great for the game. It's great for the sport. It's just awesome for baseball and awesome to see. I mean, I love when players do things that are in the record books.
You signed here 6 years ago. After this season, it'll be 6 years ago. Earlier last week, you were able to reach the top of the list for home runs as a San Diego Padre. Does any of this stuff register to you in the moment? Like how big of a deal that is? I mean, it's taken a long time for somebody to get on top of that list. You've been here now for almost full 6 years. You've been able to do that. I'm sure there are going to be other lists that you are climbing up as well. How important is that to you? The fact that it's with an organization that you kind of took a chance on.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I haven't even it still hasn't really sunk in.
Yeah.
I think about it. Obviously, I wanted to get to the number. I knew what the number was. Even coming into the beginning of the season, I said I got to hit 26 homers, right?
So you were aware coming into the season.
I was aware. I'm not gonna lie. But you know what? I mean, it's now you realize it. I didn't know it was 50 years that I hadn't been broken. It was holding on. I mean, that's. I mean, it's just. It's an honor. I mean, it's special. It's a special moment. I think maybe you ask me in a couple of years, ask me next year, maybe I have a different answer for you. And but I mean, I appreciate it. I mean, it's beautiful. It's awesome. Hopefully I got many more here. I was talking to my wife the other day about it. It's like, man, I mean, you look up at it, right? I made the record. This is when I broke the record. And I looked up. I'm like, man, I still got 9 years left here.
Right.
I got 9 years left. I mean, and I had 6. So that means I'm gonna have a Padre uniform for 16 plus years. 16 plus years, I'll have a Padre uniform, and I think that's what's special to me, and I think that's what's that's what I'm gonna. I think that's what I'm gonna cherish the most is just having one uniform for almost my entire career.
I think that when it's all said and done, that's when people will truly, truly appreciate what you've been able to accomplish. I mean, 6 years is a lot of time, but as you said, 16 is a whole lot more. So we appreciate you coming on, spending some time with us, man. Terrific season to this point, man. You guys are a lot of fun to watch, and you got all of us behind the whole city, man. Thank you for your time.
No problem. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
And there you go, Manny Machado with Tony and I just a little bit earlier. Thanks to Manny for joining us. And I don't know about you, but Manny sounds like he's in a very good mood these days. Manny sounds like he is ready for the playoff run, and Manny sounds like he is confident that this team is going to go far in the playoffs. And we were kind of just talking after the interview just a little bit, and you could just feel the confidence coming out of this entire ball club, not just Manny. And he just said it. He's got 9 more years in a Padres uniform. That is wild to think about. But in the end, Manny Machado is going to go down as most likely, I don't want to jinx anything, knock on wood, as one of the greatest Padres of all time, right next to Tony Gwynn. So Manny Machado brings a World Series to San Diego, and he is forever immortalized. Yes, I'm riding a high because I just talked to him and hung out with him in the dugout, but still, it is you can hear it in his voice. You can feel it from his answers, and we appreciate Manny for joining us today. All right. I appreciate Adam being back in studio. Adam's the real hero of today, so everybody take a little bit of time to send your thoughts up to Adam today because Adam is running everything from Manny and Nelson all the way through Gwynn and Chris, so thank you, Adam. When we get back, Tony and I did sit down and do a countdown because it is Friday. So we're going to count down our top 5 things, and today we're counting down the top 5 AJ Preller moves of this season. So that's what we're going to do when we get back. Stick around. More Gwynn and Chris on 97.3 The Fan.
Text
we are going to be getting into the countdown here in just a second. But first, this hour is brought to you by the Mini Donut Company. Sometimes an entire donut just seems a little too much. Enter the Mini Donut Company with dozens of rotating traditional and seasonal flavors. The Mini Donut Company is perfect for office catering, parties, weddings, or a fun treat for the family. Visit getminidonuts.com. Now, I walked into the kitchen the other day, and I saw these mini donuts, and they look delicious. And I skipped the mini donuts, but next time I see them, I'm not going to, because everybody else had them, said it was great, and I did not have them, and I feel left out now. I feel like I should have had the mini donuts. All right, we have the countdown coming up here, and the countdown is going to be our top 5 AJ Preller moves of the season. So spanning from the end of last season until basically today, Tony and I went through and did that, and we'll get to that right after we check traffic.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Well, no big surprises on our roads at this time. Cordell traffic cam shows a crash at the clearing stage eastbound 8 before Lake Murray. It's been moved over the right shoulder. We do have reports of a collision in the North County eastbound 78 before Rancho Santa Fe. Those vehicles are in the center divide. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Welcome back into Gwynn and Chris. Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Skraby filling in for Chris. Oh, not really filling in, but Chris Ello out on vacation. So
It's been nice.
It's just
It's been really nice.
It's just been the two of us. I mean, other than today, you've been pretty relaxed. And today is a little bit different. We got a kind of impromptu show down at Petco. You know, Manny Machado was on earlier, obviously. And, I think, when you're asked to come down to the stadium when it's not something that you normally do, I can see why you were in a little bit of you were a little uptight.
Do you see my face? How stressed it looks?
Yeah,
I
do. I don't know if you've
that's normal.
Actually released your forehead from like scrunching it up so much since you've been at the ballpark. But nonetheless, we got Friday also means it's a countdown day, and so as we were kind of going through the Rolodex of ideas of what we want to do, I thought there's been so many moves made this year. From AJ Preller. We could do a top 5. We could do a top 10 list maybe, but we typically do a top 5. So we're going to do a top 5 AJ Preller moves. Now, this is dating from after the season till now. You got more than enough to work with. Now, obviously, we don't have our intro or anything like that, so Skraby will be left to, not do the noise, not do the fives, because it doesn't really sound that great. We're just gonna tick down this list. Skraby, why don't you go first?
Yeah. By the way, you're talking about my scrunched forehead. My nieces say, "Why does your forehead smile?" And I was like, "That's really messed up." Every time I see them,
they're
like, "Your forehead smiles all the time," and I'm like, "Thanks." Anyway, my number 5 is going to be the combination of David Peralta and Donovan Solano, because we saw last year the Padres needed some bench help. They didn't really have the guys that they needed in place to come off the bench and make a difference. Donovan Solano, I've said I'm wrong about him many times. I didn't think he was going to have this big of an impact, but he's been absolutely huge. David Peralta's been huge while Fernando was out with his injury. I mean, both of those moves were, in my mind, made because he learned last year he needs veteran bench help. So I'm going to say the combination of David Peralta and Donovan Solano.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That was clearly, I think, one of the better moves that AJ Preller made. It's also 5 on my list. I think one of the things that the Padres have seemingly always lacked, even in some of their better runs, is bench depth. And this quality of the bench depth this year is exceptional. I mean, Donnie Barrels, Peralta. I mean, there's been a bunch of other smaller moves that have contributed, but those two stand out the most because they were asked at different moments to step in for long periods of time, and not only did they hold the fort down, they thrived in those positions, and that's a plus. I think part of the reason AJ Preller is going to get an A+ when this is all said and done in terms of putting this roster together. Remember, the payroll went down and the roster got better. So,
my number 4 is going to be.
Is it supposed to? Yeah, you go.
Yeah. or you can go.
No, go ahead. Number 4.
The trades for the Florida pitchers is what I'll say. The Jason Adam Tampa trade, and then the Brian Hoeing and the Tanner Scott trade.
Yeah.
Those, I mean, it's crazy that that's at number 4, but you'll see because there's a lot more to come with AJ Preller and the moves he made. But obviously, that's put the bullpen to where it's at today. It's put the ASS into the 7, 8, 9. Adam, Scott, and Suarez. So I can't believe that there was a part of the season without these guys, to be honest, because it just feels like they've been a part of this team the entire season, and they've already paid dividends upon dividends. So that's my number 4, the Florida pitchers.
Okay, number 4 on my list is the move to bring Jackson Merrill to the big league ball club. We often think about trades when we think about moves, but this wasn't when the season ended in 2023, it was not a guarantee that Jackson Merrill was going to be on the big league team. It was thought that he would have a chance, but to pull the trigger in the same way they pulled the trigger for Fernando Tatis some years ago has paid huge dividends for this ball club. Being able to solidify, at the time it was left field, but what ended up happening is he moved to center, and being able to hold down one of the more important spots on the field with a homegrown rookie is huge. Another A for AJ Preller in the 4 spot for me.
I should have put that one on my list. I did think of trades basically only, but having the faith in Jackson Merrill to stick him in center field and to bring him to the big league club, huge, obviously. I mean, where would they be without him?
Yeah,
right
no
now?
doubt.
My number 3 is going to be a trade, and it was the Juan Soto trade that brought Michael King over and Kyle Higashioka and Drew Thorpe, who we'll get to in a second. But Michael King, again, where would they be without him as a part of this rotation? There were questions coming into the year about the rotation. There were questions coming into the year, can Michael King pitch a full year? He's never done it before. How many innings can he throw? How good is he going to be? Well, he's shown us he's very, very good, and he's been a really, really nice part of this rotation, and he's made a lot of starts this year. So Michael King, bringing him in with Kyle Higashioka, I mean, you can't ask for more back from a Juan Soto trade.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm going to steal your answer here both ways. I'm going to combine the Juan Soto trade because that also parlayed into the Dylan Cease trade. They will be the 3 for me. I mean, listen, I for one, and you guys know this, having been on the show with me, I was not looking forward to trading Juan Soto. I was not. I just didn't think you could be able to possibly get the value that you would need in order to feel good about trading him. I was wrong. Michael King, Kyle Higashioka, and listen, even Randy Vasquez have proved that to not be true. Not only did Michael King become one of the better pitchers in the National League, has one of the best ERAs in the National League in his first full season as a starter, but Kyle Higashioka at some point really saved the catching position with the production that he had. Not only that, Randy Vasquez had to be thrusted into the rotation and held his own for quite some time. He did what he needed to do in order to keep Padres in a lot of ball games that he pitched. And then that's not even mentioning that they took Thorpe, flipped him for Dylan Cease, and what he has done. He's thrown a no-hitter this year, almost went CG in his last start. He's been without Dylan Cease, Michael King in that rotation, Padres wouldn't be in this spot, guaranteed, without those two guys. So that's number 3 on my list.
I also love Michael King because A, he won me or helped me win a fantasy championship, and B, when he pitched against Glasnow earlier in the year, and I think it was Luis Ariza's first home game with the Padres, and he walked it off. We were downstairs in the clubhouse, and Michael King said that you can't do anything without your shoes on, so he had to put his shoes on before he answered questions, which I thought was quite hilarious. All right, my number 2 is going to be Luis Ariz. And Luis Ariz, I know that we've talked about him many times this year.
You're not on number 2 though, right?
Yeah, we are.
Are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're on number 2. We're not in our regular days.
Got you. You're right.
So my number 2, Luis Ariz. If he doesn't come to this team, I don't know what they're doing at the top of the order. Probably still Jerickson Profar, which is fine. But Luis Arraez has set the tone for this entire lineup. And I don't care what the analytics people say. I don't care that he doesn't do these things in the X-Bat, FIP, whatever Chris said, Fippity-Fop. I am a huge fan of Luis Arraez. He and the immeasurables. He brings like a fire to this team. He sets the tone for this team, and Luis Arraez is a very important player for this team. So he's my number 2.
Number 2 on my list is actually also Luis Arraez. I hate that you're like in my head right now, taking all of my.
I should have let you go first.
All my ideas, but yeah, no, I think this is another move that put the Padres, I think, in the position they're in. I mean, having that guy at the top of the lineup on a nightly basis is a game changer. And I know from an on-base percentage standpoint, it may not be the perfect fit, but he sets a tone in this lineup every night that he's in the lineup. He's played through some injury. Thumb, now knee, and he seems to be willing to do whatever the team asks him to do. They ask him to play first, they ask him to play second, they ask him to DH. He's willing to do it all. And so, and I think another important piece is who he is as a person in that clubhouse. I think he is adaptable in so many ways that it's just good to have a guy like that in your locker room and in your lineup.
All right, we've made it to number 1. These are the top moves that AJ Preller has made in 2024 from the end of last season until now. And my number 1 is flipping Drew Thorpe for Dylan Cease. You kind of already touched on it, but Dylan Cease was another guy. At least he got put on the team before the season even started, so he's had a full year with the Padres. Dylan Cease is a guy that has done incredible things this year. And the Padres not only have 3 great pitchers in their rotation, they have 4 great pitchers in their rotation, including Cease and Michael King and Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove. And Dylan Cease, he just seems like a cool dude. I think he's a good guy for the clubhouse. He doesn't seem like any drama whatsoever. And I like his shirt yesterday or 2 days ago that he wears. He wears great shirts. But Dylan Cease, for what he has brought to the team this year, he's my number 1 move.
Number 1 for me is signing Jerickson Profar to $1 million deal.
Why didn't I think about that one?
I know. I'm so happy that you went with Dylan Cease for your number 1. It's not a bad pick, but Jerickson Profar at $1 million has played one of his best season, but one of the best seasons of the year for his ball club. You can make the argument he's had the best season in terms of start to finish. He has been, when Manny hadn't gotten going yet, he was working through his elbow issue. When they hadn't got Luis Arraez yet, this dude was the offense for a good portion of time. He did, and it wasn't just him having good offensive days. It was in the biggest moments of the games a lot of time he was doing his best work. So Jerickson Profar, for me, is the number 1 move that AJ Preller made in 2023-2024.
No wonder you're the analyst of the radio side, because I'm really mad at myself. I didn't think of that one.
Completely forgot because it wasn't a trade.
Completely forgot because it wasn't a trade. All right, that's it for our countdown. We're going to have some more Gwynn and Chris when we get back here on 97.3 The Fan.
Padres White Sox today.
Strike 3 called. 12 strikeouts on the
p.m. hour here of Gwynn and Chris, 97.3 The Fan. I am Matt Skraby. Chris Ello on vacation. He'll be back in a couple weeks. Tony Gwynn Jr. officially now getting ready to start the final regular season series of the season at home for the Padres. They're going to be taking on the White Sox. We'll get into the matchups and everything a little bit later. But so far, we've had a pretty crazy show. We had Manny Machado on. We went down to the dugout and we were waiting for him, and so I got to spy on batting practice and everything. That was pretty fun. But Manny, if you didn't hear it, he sounded confident. He sounded like he was relaxed. He sounded like he's in a really good place for this team, and his teammates are in a really good place as well. So I'm very excited about what this team has in the next 10 games or so. I'm very excited to see how they finish this year, because it's going to be a crazy finish. You have the Mets winning last night. You had the Diamondbacks winning last night. You have the Braves winning last night. You have all the teams that you don't want to win winning last night. So they're not making it any easier on the Padres. They're actually making it pretty difficult on the Padres, because the Padres are leading the way. They are the ones who are, what's the phrase I'm looking for? They control their own destiny is what I was trying to say. They're controlling their own destiny, so they are leading the way with the wild card, and they are able to basically see what happens behind them, and obviously they want to win all the games that they can, but if they drop one, they can still look back and see what's going on with the rest of the wild card teams, rest of the National League teams, and it's going to be a sprint to the finish here coming down to the end, and I'm excited. I mean, I've been doing this now for 7 years. This is our 7th year as a show together. And I don't know that I've seen a better Padres team yet. I mean, we had some additions of Padres teams that were pretty good, but I feel like this team is the most complete team. This team has the most. It has the most pieces that fit. And I'm not saying that they were just throwing things together last year, but this year you have guys like David Peralta, as we just talked about with the countdown. You have guys like David Peralta, Donovan Solano. You have guys in the bullpen. AJ Preller having faith in Jackson Merrill to play center field. This is the most complete team, and it just seems like the team also really, really enjoys being around each other, and that's an important thing in a baseball season. They spend literally almost every single day for 6 months together. So if you don't like your teammates, you are going to have a really long summer, but that's not the case here with the Padres. And we'll hear from Manny again in the 5 o'clock hour. We still have a big 5 to go in this hour. We have a Chris versus the fans. It's going to be Adam versus the fans, which is going to be coming up here shortly. So get in line. 833-288-0973. We're going to be playing for a prize that I will tell you about in just a second. But first, if you love Mediterranean food, try Spiro's for authentic Mediterranean cuisine in Coronado or La Jolla. For dining or takeout options, visit spiroscuisine.com. And they also have a spot here at Petco Park. So if you were here at Petco Park tonight or over the weekend, make sure you go check out Spiro's. All right, I think it's time for Adam versus the fans. And if you are going to be the winner today, if you end up beating Adam, you will be qualified for a chance to win a grand prize, a 2-night stay at Wynn or Encore Las Vegas, and 2 tickets to see Awakening. Awakening, the thrilling spectacle at Wynn Las Vegas, dazzles audiences with soaring aerialists, bounding acrobats, high-energy choreography, and comedic moments. At the heart of this compelling story, a hero must confront the forces of light and darkness in a quest to save the world. I always feel like I need to be dramatic there. A mythic adventure unfolds set amid the most technologically immersive theater ever designed. Tickets are on sale now at awakening.com. You will also win a pair of tickets. You will have these in hand or at least on your phone in the next couple of weeks. A pair of tickets for 5 tastings in the Wine and Beer Garden at the La Jolla Art and Wine Festival on September 29th. This is a free event featuring 160-plus fine artists and loads of family fun. Tickets are required to enter the Wine and Beer Garden and can be purchased at ljawf.com. So all you need to do is call us right now, 833-288-0973. And now it's time to play Adam versus the fans.
If you had one shot, one opportunity to take down the human almanac himself,
Howdy do.
Now is your time.
Listen to me, this guy is dangerous.
Now is your opportunity to win a prize.
Well, I hope you know what you're in for.
Chris versus the fans starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
All right. Chris versus the Fans is presented by SD Fat Loss. Lose 20 to 30 pounds in just 60 days. Visit sdfatloss.com to schedule your free consultation. Here are the rules. You have to make it through 3 questions. Each question will get more difficult. If you get the question right, you move on. If you get it wrong and Chris gets it right, you're eliminated. I'm Ron Burgundy, literally Ron Burgundy. And Adam gets it right, you're eliminated. But if Adam gets it wrong, then you move on to the next question or you win. And there's going to be a lot of stat-related questions today. I think that's pretty fair with Adam playing Adam versus the Fans today. So I believe we're going to start with Dan. Dan is on the line. Hello, Dan. How are you doing?
Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. Are you? Oh, I forgot one part of the rule. If you're a first-time player, let us know before you get into it, and we will give that question for free. So, Dan, are you a first-time player?
I'm like a 15-time loser, 3-time winner.
Okay. He's 3-15, everybody. I like that record for you, Dan. It means that you've kept trying even though you keep losing. All right, here we go. Adam versus the Fans, question number 1. What college did Tua Tagovailoa play football for?
Crimson Tide.
Sorry, what'd you say?
Alabama, Crimson Tide.
Crimson Tide is correct. I can't hear as much, so I'll do my best. But if Adam hears it and he knows the answer is right, then he'll go ahead and hit the buzzer. But here we go for question number 2. All right. Heading into today, name the 2 teams who have clinched a playoff spot in the American League.
I'll go with the Yankees and the Yankees and the
Gonna need an answer.
Rangers.
Yankees and the Rangers. That is incorrect. However, stay right there. Let's see if Adam gets it. Adam, do you know the 2 teams?
He doesn't need to stay right here. We'll go with the Yankees and the Guardians.
That is correct. Thank you very much,
Thanks
Dan,
for playing, Dan.
For Rangers, I think they were eliminated in like July, but that's okay. That's okay. All right, let's go to our next contestant. We're going to go to Gilberto, one of our guys. Gilberto, how are you?
Muy bien, ¿cómo están, muchachos?
Gracias.
Muy bien.
Yeah, I'm all over the place today with my my responses.
¿Quieres que
That's okay, that's okay, guys.
En
hey.
español?
Claro que sí.
Sí.
He said yes, he understands. Yeah, I think so, right?
I asked if you wanted me to play in Spanish.
Oh, okay. Adam, if you could do that, please. I want to see this as well.
¿Quieres que juego en español?
En español o en
Debo
inglés, nada más.
decir.
Okay, I have no idea what's going on right now, but here it's time for question number 1, Gilberto.
Okay.
Let's do this one. Okay. Who was the leading passer in last night's Thursday night football game?
Leading passer last night's game?
Yes.
It's got to be Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers is correct. We're going to get into the awkward hug in the Big 5. There you go, Aaron.
I just
Did you just hang up on Gilberto?
I just hung up on Gilberto.
Oh my gosh.
I
He'll
was
be
putting
calling
another
right back.
caller on hold. Gilberto, I'm so sorry.
This is something that I've done before, so I'm not too mad at it because I know that
I feel
feeling.
bad.
Well, the buttons are right next to each other.
Yeah, let's go to Michael in Lemon Grove and tell Gilberto I owe him one.
All right, Gilberto, we owe you one. I'm sorry. Michael, Lemon Grove, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good, guys. If Gilberto calls back, I'll cede the floor back to him. I'll be.
What a guy! What a guy! Doing things for Gilberto. I love it. All right, let's get started with question number 1.
Love you, Gilberto.
Rest in peace. To your call. To your call. Michael, what team? This should be easy. What team is leading the American League East right now?
The Yankees.
The Yankees is correct. All right, here we go. Question number 2.
Boy, that was easy, huh? The team that clinched the playoff spot already.
This one's not so easy, I don't think. Name the 2 NFL quarterbacks tied with 4 interceptions each. They have the most interceptions in the league. Name the 2 quarterbacks tied for 4 interceptions each.
Tied with 4 interceptions each.
Correct.
I guess Bryce Young. You lose your job, you got to throw a lot of picks. And I'm going to say Aaron Rodgers because he had one more game.
Oh, well, that's a nice thought, but that is incorrect. Now, Adam, do you know the 2 quarterbacks in the NFL tied with 4 interceptions each?
This is a tough question, but I will go with Bryce Young as one of them, and my other guess will be Will Levis of the Tennessee Titans.
That is incorrect. You were moving on, Michael, to question number 3. The answers: Anthony Richardson of the Colts and Bo Nix of the Broncos.
Good question, Skraby.
Thank you. We would think that Bryce Young had more than 3 interceptions, but that's all he's had this year. All right, Michael, you are on to question number 3. You get this right or Adam gets it wrong, and you are qualified to Las Vegas. You also get tickets to the La Jolla Art and Wine Festival. Here we go. What jewelry company makes the Vince Lombardi trophy?
There's only 2 that immediately jump out. I'm going to say Tiffany's.
That is correct. Wow, Michael. Thank you so much for doing that for us. I mean, Tiffany is correct. Is he still on the line? What was your other thought?
Yeah, I was thinking Swarovski for like Swarovski crystals, but I think that's the NCAA tournament. The NCAA
Wow, I need to put that as a
like
question.
crystal football.
I've never heard of the Swarovski jewelry company, but hey, I'm going to put that as a question. Stay on the line. Adam is going to get your information. Great playing, Michael. Sorry to Gilberto once again, guys. I feel like Gilberto's...
Lo siento mucho.
He's in his car right now, just like, why did Adam hang up
He's
on
actually
me?
calling back in. You want to talk to him for a second?
Sure. Let's talk to him. Hey, Gilberto.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I did not have anything to do with that, but there was a little bit of a slip of the finger. Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Next time you call, you get the first one for free, even though it gives you a big advantage.
No, it's okay. Listen, you see that Mike Shildt did what I asked him to do?
No, what was that?
He rested Arraez.
Oh, yes, he did rest the rise, and I think that's a definite thing that they needed to do. Let me give the lineup. Thank you, Gilberto. We're gonna connect next week or in the future, but you get that first question for free because of the hang-up issue. But let's go check out the lineup real quick and get you all set for that. Here it is. Luis Arraez is DHing today, batting first. Fernando Tatis Jr. Oh, thank you. I'm so out of my element when I'm not in the studio. It's
you can't give the lineup without the sounder.
You're right. Chris would throw something at me if I did that. Fernando Tatis Jr. batting second, playing right field. So a little bit of a move up from third, and Profar's now hitting third, playing left field. Manny Machado, who he has been batting second. Why did I think that? This is anyway. We're gonna go forward. Machado, third base, cleaning up. Merrill playing center field, batting fifth. Xander Bogaerts playing shortstop. When did he do that, Adam? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I know Xander Bogaerts has played shortstop for quite some time now. Donovan Solano playing first base. Jake Cronenworth playing second base, batting eighth. Kyle Higashioka catching, batting ninth, and then Joe Musgrove on the mound. So Luis Arraez is not going to be in the field one more time today, which I think is okay. I mean, his knee looked like it really hurt, and although you're never going to get a guy like him to come out of a lineup on a daily basis, he is going to he's going to be someone that is going to lobby hard to stay in the lineup. And I'm sure Mike Shildt made a compromise with him, kind of saying, hey, we need to rest your knee a little bit, so let's keep you off the field, but we'll still keep you in the lineup, and he's still going for a batting title. I mean, there's 10 games left in the season. Luis Urias has a batting title that he could win. He wants to be in that lineup. I wanted to be in that lineup. He is in that lineup. So that's what we got going on tonight. Thank you to Michael for playing Chris vs. the Fans. Thanks to everybody who called. When we get back, we are going to talk about some of the best home moments this season at Petco Park. I asked people earlier on X. I sent out a Z, which I'm trying to get that word to catch on. I don't know if it will be, but we'll go over some of those when we get back here on 97.3 The Fan. experience before. He came from an organization in the St. Louis Cardinals that had a winning tradition. So Mike Shildt was the choice for the Padres. Now, we heard all these other people being interviewed for it, and nothing really stood out to me. So they made the right decision with Mike Shildt being the manager of the team. So I do think that's a good addition to our countdown, because we definitely need to mention that. Mike Shildt has put himself in a position to possibly win Manager of the Year in the National League, and I know that some people want the Brewers manager to win the Manager of the Year, but I think Mike Shildt has done a little bit more this year. It's hard to say, because if you look at the Brewers, you look at them and their injuries, and you have Christian Yelich, who's been out most of the year due to a back issue. So you have one of your better players not playing all season long. You still clinch division with over a week to go. That's a pretty good job. I got to say, it's a pretty good job. I can't say that he's not deserving of Manager of the Year, but Mike Shildt has put this team into a place where they're playing some of the best baseball since the All-Star break across the league. And you can't discount that. I don't think you can look past what Mike Shildt has done with this team. And I personally, I just have this feeling, and I know this is a bad feeling. I probably shouldn't even say it, but I just have this feeling he's not going to win. And I think he should win, but I just got this feeling. And I hope I'm wrong. I really do. And sometimes my feelings are not very correct, and I don't predict the future, and this is probably one of those. But we'll see what happens here come award season. But there's going to be the Padres up for a couple awards. We got Rookie of the Year. I think Manny should be in the MVP conversation. Not that I think he's going to win, because I think everybody has already basically written in Shohei Otani. But you got a lot going on this postseason in regards to awards. All right, let's go to the tweet, the Z, as I've been trying to say. And thank you, Brandon, for putting hashtag Z on your tweet, or on your Zeet. But Morris84 replied to my tweet saying, in honor of the final regular season home series being played this weekend, what are some of your favorite home game moments this year? And this one stood out to me. Morris84. I took my dad to his first Padres game versus Oakland. Pods came back from being down 4-2. Jackson Merrill walked it off in the ninth. My dad had one of the best days in years. He hadn't been out in public due to his cancer diagnosis in years. Hell of a game for him to be at. And that's like what baseball is all about. The spirit of baseball, seeing stuff like that, being a part of the community of Padres fans. And I remember this game. I believe it came against Mason Miller, and I believe it secured a sweep for the first series sweep for the Padres this year. And it's kind of funny to think about it now, because we were also worried that they hadn't swept the team all year, and they were the only team in baseball who hadn't swept the team all year, and they hadn't won more than 4 in a row. And they just won 4 in a row the other day, and no one blinked. That's how good they've been since the All-Star break. But Jackson Merrill walking it off, that kind of started his whole rise to the top. That home run that he hit that helped the Padres win the game, walk it off against the A's, against a really tough pitcher, Mason Miller, was one of those moments that we're all going to look back on and be like, that was the moment Jackson Merrill became Jackson Merrill. Let's go to the next one. Nando's go-ahead home run against the Cubs after being down 8-0. This one is from Ken. Ken, this is a great one. I remember this like it was yesterday. I wasn't at the park, but I was at home. I was watching the at-bat, and I jumped off my couch because it was that big of a deal. At that moment in the season, the Padres were kind of struggling. Fernando wasn't doing great. The team was just kind of being slow to start a little bit, but that moment against the Cubs was a really nice moment. Now, it would take them a little bit longer to get going. So I thought that was going to be the launching point for the Padres, but it wasn't the launching point. They had a few more weeks of struggling, but they did what they did, and they are now sitting at the top of the wild card today. And Nando hitting that home run against the Cubs after being down 8-0 is a great one. That is a really good one. Brandon says Manny's walk-off against Arizona after life had been sucked out of the building when Arizona took the lead in the top of the ninth on July 5th. Hashtag Zeet. Great one, Brandon. I do remember this one. This one kind of slipped my mind a little bit. I had to go back and look at it, but yeah, that was a huge one. Right in that area of the season, the Padres were they were kind of playing 500 baseball. And they would win a few, and then they would lose a few. And then they would win one, lose one, win one, lose. There was no sustained winning streak that happened at that point in the season. So that did feel like a bigger home run than that felt like a bigger home run than it actually may have been at the time. Natalie says she was also in attendance for the Machado walk-off against the Diamondbacks on July 5th and the Tatis walk-off versus the Tigers on September 4th. Both were #electric. Now, what I remember about the Fernando Tatis Jr. walk-off against the Tigers, and I'm sure most people know where I'm going with this, was right after that, Fernando ran around the field with his shirt off looking like a Greek god, and I was very jealous of his physique because Fernando, as we all know, is in great shape. And so they tore his shirt off and he ran around the field. I thought that was a great moment, and it was hilarious at the same time. So thank you for that one, Natalie. Sandy also says Merrill's walk-off down the right field pole. Zay sent me a bunch of videos and screenshots of a bunch of Manny Machado home runs. Right Field Mission says beating the Dodgers on Friday night and Manny's home run after they threw at Profar in the first. Yes, I remember I was there at the game with Michael King and Tyler Glasnow, and that seemed like a huge, huge, huge win. Luis Arraez's first home game for the Padres in City Connect uniforms. Michael King, I believe he struck out 11 that night. Took down Tyler Glasnow, and the Padres won that game. And that was one of those. That was one of those games where you're like, all right, this team has it. This team can do it, and they did it on that night. Brian says Profar's game against Washington. That's where I'm going to end this one because that might be the moment of the entire season to this point. If I'm probably. I don't like doing these things because I always forget things and then I want to re-rank everything. But that moment with Profar kind of really, and not kind of, just getting under the skin of the Nationals with his walk-off celebration. And then the next day when they threw at him and then Manny came in with Keibert Ruiz and trying to get him to calm down. And then Mackenzie Gore gets a homer just crushed off of him by Manny Machado. And that was like maybe the most perfectly timed home run that I've seen in a long time because everybody was really up in arms about the whole Profar thing. Manny Machado calmed it down. Bench is kind of clear a little bit. I believe, Adam, I hope I'm right on this one, but wasn't Jesse Winker fighting with the fan in the stands the night before? I believe that's what happened. Yes, he's shaking his head yes. So there was a lot going on in that Washington series. But there's been a lot that's happened all season long here at Petco. And again, I think there's going to be more to come. There's going to be more to come. I mean, there's just so much that we could say here, and I can't get to all of it. Let me go through real quick just to make sure I'm not missing any good ones before we head to break. A Solano walk-off, that was pretty good as well, I got to say. But mostly those are the ones that people were remembering. I got to see what else. Let's see. Someone said also the 3 home runs back-to-back-to-back on Wednesday. So why not put that in there as well because that was pretty exciting. All right. You're listening to Gwynn and Chris. I'm Matt Skraby. When we get back, we are going to have a big 5. So Tony and I sat down. We talked about a whole bunch of things. And we talked about the White Sox being in town. And we talked about whether or not the Padres absolutely 100% have to sweep the White Sox. So the big 5 is next here on 97.3 The Fan. Between the Padres and the White Sox, already been talking to a few Padres fans today. Gadesh is here with us. He has been a listener to the station. So if you want to come by and say hi, please do. We're up in the loft in the corner. You'll see us. We're right in front of all the baseballs that look like an American flag. We're going to get into the Big Five here in just a second. But real quick, let's go and check out the matchup tonight between Joe Musgrove. Joe Musgrove. There's a lot going on. I don't know how Sammy Lev does it. Like, if I were to do this every single day, I think I would get used to it. But Sammy Lev is a master of being able to do his job while there's a lot going on around him. And I appreciate that. He's going to join us here, by the way, at 5 p.m. So stick around for that because he's going to get us set for this series. And then we're going to hear from Manny Machado again in the 5 o'clock hour. But Joe Musgrove is going for the Padres, as I've said. And the internet is being really slow. I should have had this ready. Garrett Crochet is going for the White Sox. Now, that's an interesting one because Garrett Crochet is not necessarily going to go deep into the game. As a fantasy manager that owned Garrett Crochet throughout the baseball season, I know at the end, if he has a good start, he'll go 3 innings. I think that's maybe his max, maybe 4. 4 max. But 3, it seems to be something that he's been doing a lot lately. He's good though. I mean, don't get it twisted. He's very good, and he could do some damage in the little time that he has. I mean, he was a couple weekends ago. He only pitched maybe 3 innings. He had 9 strikeouts. So Garrett Crochet can do damage, and he can do damage against any lineup that he faces. It's just a matter of how quickly can the Padres get to the bullpen, because that's where you want to get, and that's what the Padres have been really good at doing this year. I was talking to a friend from Cincinnati, and their team just got eliminated the other day. And he's he's been a Cincinnatian his entire life, and he's been a Reds fan his entire life. And he's very jealous of what the San Diego Padres fans have right now. He's very jealous of having a team that is as good as the Padres and having a team that is playing to their potential right now, like the Padres are. And Cincinnati has some good players and everything, but, it just feels good to be on this side. Ellie De La Cruz is a great player, but he's not ready to carry a team like Manny Machado is. And so if you're a Padre fan out there, you got to feel fortunate because there's so many other teams out there that are just bad baseball teams. And the White Sox, unfortunately for them, are one of those bad baseball teams. They're going to be in town tonight, Garrett Crochet and Joe Musgrove. Now, Joe Musgrove is coming off of a very good outing, so I expect for him to be as good tonight, and that's something to watch for. I'm going to tell Sam what to watch for in this game is how long Garrett Crochet pitches in the game, because it's going to be 3 or 4 innings, I have a feeling. And if he gets in trouble early, it could be 1 inning, or it could be 2 innings. But he's not going to go deep into this game. I can almost 99% say that he's not going to go deep into this game. Just being the fantasy champion, double champ that I am for fantasy baseball. All right, I think we have the Big Five is ready. So we're going to talk. We're going to go. Tony is going to rejoin me, and then we are going to hear about the Padres, whether or not they actually have to sweep this weekend, and a lot more. But first, your traffic.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by MTS, reminding you that trolleys run every 15 minutes or better. Well, crashes have cleared in the North County, eastbound 78 at Rancho Santa Fe, and another crash cleared just past Twin Oaks Valley, so speeds are getting back to normal there. Now an accident southbound side of the 805, right before the 8. This one is in the center divide, but looks like emergency crews got that fast lane blocked. Also hit and run crash reported on southbound 15 before University. And northbound 5, right before Mile of Cars Way, we have reports of some debris in middle lanes. Don't let traffic drag your day down, whether headed to the office or game day. Go the easy way with MTS. Trolleys run every 15 minutes or better throughout the day. Learn more and plan your trolley trip at sdmts.com. That's sdmts.com. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's that time of the show when we check on the latest in sports. Only the most important topics and questions are brought to light.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
These news stories will astound and amaze you. The one, the only.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
The Big Five starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
Sour is brought to you by Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Their all-in-one platform helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place. And Indeed's interview tool lets you schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from their website. Visit Indeed.com/credit. Now, an impromptu show today from Petco Park, so I will be big voice guy number 5. As we know, Tony, the Padres, Tony's shaking his head for the record, everybody. As we know, the Padres are playing the White Sox this weekend, and the other wild card teams are still winning. I know the White Sox are still a major league team, and they have been playing better as of late, but is this, Tony, a series where you can't accept anything less than a sweep?
No, it's a stupid idea to set yourself up for failure so that if they don't get a sweep, you're like in the dumps and you think the season is in shambles. No, they don't. Just keep doing what they're doing. Been doing. Win the series. If they can get a sweep, awesome. But, 2 or 3 is just fine.
I talked to a lot of Padres fans last night on DMs, and they were talking to me about the baggage of previous years, about how we were talking about that yesterday. And a lot of the fans are not feeling the baggage as of late. So I think
that's a good thing.
That is a very good thing. And if they don't sweep them, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but it would be nice to get a sweep, especially when the Mets cannot lose, and the Diamondbacks won, and the Cubs won, and the Braves won, and all of the teams that you need to lose won. So,
well, that's for now, but there's another day today, and then tomorrow, again, another game. They have to keep winning as much as the Padres have to keep winning. So it's not – Padres, remember, they've put themselves in a position where – all the teams chasing them have to do more winning than the Padres actually have to do.
They control their own destiny.
Ding.
All right. Number 4. I really feel stupid doing that now.
maybe you should stop.
Okay, we'll just go through. We'll just go through it. Some thought the Marlins were going to pitch around Shohei Otani yesterday while he was literally doing everything an offensive player could do yesterday. There was a shot of Marlins manager Skip Schumaker in the dugout yesterday, and lip readers, yes, I know lip readers, are saying that he wanted nothing to do with walking Shohei Otani. A lip reader on the internet said, quote, "Bleep that. I've got too much respect for this guy for that bleep to happen," end quote. I'm up first. Do you think they should have pitched around him? No. I love what Skip Schumaker did here. This is what baseball is all about. It's like the equivalent, not really the equivalent, but like Chris was saying on Monday night, he wanted Lori to sit Devontae Smith in her fantasy league. That goes against the spirit of fantasy football. You play your players and see what happens. And you know what? The Marlins did what they did.
That wasn't a bad comparison right there. Very nice.
Thank you. The Marlins did what they did, and they got crushed for it. But hey, at least you're not going to go down as that guy, Skip Schumaker. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, no. Shout out to Skip for keeping the integrity of the game and not pitching around Shohei even though he was out of his mind yesterday, as he finished with 3 homers and 2 doubles and a single, I believe. Yeah, man, I think this is what it's about, right? I mean, it'd been different had it been a situation where it was like close ball game. You're trying to, I mean, the game was already well out of hand at that point. Intentionally walking a guy only at that point for the sake of not becoming a part of history, I think is whack. And so, I mean, it's not a surprise. Skip has always been A, straightforward, but B, he shows a ton of respect for the game. He loves this game, and that's not how it's supposed to be. He was around playing, around that time when Barry was breaking, doing his thing. So, like, we all got a chance to see that. Nobody was ducking the fade at that point, so don't duck it now.
And yesterday it didn't really matter.
It didn't matter at all.
They won, I think, 20-3 or 4.
As I said, if it was a one-run ball game and he came up and he was already doing it, okay, yeah, that I can understand you intentionally walking him, but you were getting your face beat up right at that point.
After the show last night, when you left, I saw they were showing highlights. I'm like, the dude hit another home run? He hit another home run?
I didn't actually know if he gave up. I didn't see it till later. So when I looked at the final stats and I saw that, wait, he had 3 homers? I had to go back and look at it in order to see it. But yeah, man, dude is on another level.
He is. All right, let's go to football. In the last 5 seasons, the Cincinnati Bengals have started 1-9 in the first 2 weeks of each season for total for the 10 games that Joe Burrow's been the starting quarterback. And for a team that's won a lot of games, this is a pretty surprising stat to me, at least. Joe Burrow said things are going to be okay, and they're familiar with this place in the standings. They only made the playoffs in 2 of those 5 seasons. So, Tony, do you think this is a bigger deal than the Bengals say?
What is a bigger deal?
Starting slow. Starting 1-9 in their last 10 first 2 weeks.
I mean, it's not as much of a problem now because there's extra games on the calendar than there used to be. But, before starting, 1-3, 0-4, somewhere along those lines, that gets you into a bunch of, you'd be in trouble. Most of the time they would say you'd be not making the playoffs. So I know they have a track record of being able to play better football as the season goes along, but that's not something I think you want to keep doing year in and year out. So to answer your question, is it a big problem or not? I don't know if it's a big problem yet, but it's starting to become an issue.
It is. And
especially if they can't turn it around.
Yeah. T. Higgins is supposedly going to be coming back here soon. They got him. They had the whole Jamar Chase contract issue. I was reading earlier in the Joe Burrow career, he had appendicitis that took him out for a little bit.
I remember that.
He had the calf injury that took him out. Now he has the wrist injury. So I don't know if this is a Bengal problem or if this is just
does he have a wrist injury now, though? I think that was...
Well, he's recovering from it, and some are saying that he's still hurting from it. But who knows? But if you're like the NFL, as we've talked about, each game is so important, and Tony makes a good point. They have more games now, so you're able to waste a game and then be able to make it back up.
I'm not saying you're able to waste a game, but if by chance you have a bad start, it's not as detrimental as it used to be.
I mean, stats used to be like if you start 0-2, you have like a 10% chance of making the playoffs. But now it's not so much like that. So we'll see what happens with the Bengals, and we'll see if they win this coming weekend. Derek Carr's in a little bit of trouble with the NFL. New Orleans Saints quarterback Derek Carr has been fined for his Week 2 touchdown celebration that imitated Michael Jackson, a source told ESPN. Carr snuck the ball in from the 1-yard line for a touchdown in the third quarter of the Saints' 44-19 win against the Cowboys on Sunday. He then did a dance move made famous by Jackson that involved grabbing at his crotch.
Oh, maybe that's what the
and you're not allowed to do sexually suggestive
the pump,
celebrations.
The pump was a problem then.
So I'm up first. Is this a case of the no fun league? I think it is. I think it is because it's a Michael Jackson move. People know that Michael Jackson did that. When I saw it, I was kind of crazy for Derek Carr, of all people, to do.
That's what was out of pocket, or that's what was like out of sorts.
Like
there.
so weird about it is because Derek Carr's a pretty straight-laced guy, but the No Fun League has been out this year. The celebrations, we got the T-shirt cannon from Raheem Morris yesterday, when it really was probably a gun shooting in the air. If you're gonna find Derek Carr for this, you have to find Drake London for the T-shirt cannon, and they got a penalty and all this other stuff. But this is a case of the No Fun League, Tony.
Yeah, no, I agree. Case of the No Fun League. I feel like the sexually suggested moves are only sometimes fined. I feel like there's been a couple guys who've gotten away with a few of those pumps, and then it wasn't that big of a deal. I remember, I recall, I think a referee was about to give a penalty if it extended beyond 2. And this was just 1, at least the celebration I saw from Derek Carr. So maybe it was the hand on the crotch part that got him in trouble. But I thought that happened last year.
Was it the receiver show that showed that? Amon-Ra St. Brown?
It was the receiver show. Yes. That's exactly right.
And he was like, hey.
One more pump
you're getting flagged.
Exactly.
Such a weird thing to say, too.
So I'm going to say that we need some consistency. I'm going to say that this is a case of the No Fun League right here because Derek Carr's wasn't as bad. Now, listen, that was last year that we saw the receiver game. So maybe this year they're cracking down on the pumps. You get none.
Feels like the NFL is worried about a lot of things that don't matter.
That don't matter at all.
Like,
right.
This doesn't matter. I know that there's some parents out there probably thinking, why did Derek Carr do that? Now my kid's running around the house grabbing his crotch. But who cares? It's a Michael Jackson thing.
Yeah, the problem is the kids don't know who Michael Jackson is now.
This
generation, they don't know. So whereas our generation knew exactly where that was coming from, it wasn't anything obscene. Now it may seem like, where is that coming from?
Yeah, I guess you're right. I'm having a hard time realizing that
you're
kids
old?
these days. Yeah, thank you. That kids these days don't know like. I was talking to some of my mom's a teacher. Some of her students are in like 3rd and 4th grade. And I went in last year and I was like, they're like, who do you work with? Who do you work for? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, do you know who Tony Gwynn is? And they're like,
yeah.
I'm like, I guess you guys are only like 9 years old. So that makes sense.
I'm the young one too. The younger version. They definitely didn't see my pops at all.
That is crazy to me. It's crazy. All right, final one. After the Jets scored their second touchdown of the night against the Patriots, quarterback Aaron Rodgers approached head coach Robert Saleh, and what happened next went viral. In a nutshell, Saleh went for a hug. Rodgers opted for a two-handed shove of the chest. The interaction was capped by a side-eye from Rodgers, according to the article that I was reading. Rodgers was asked about the awkward moment after the victory, and he said, quote, "No, it's not really awkward at all. He's not a big hugger usually. So I didn't know he was going for the hug. He likes to do the two-handed chest push as well, but he talks a lot about 2-score lead, so I kind of gave him a push and said 2-score lead. Tony, do you believe Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, this is, I know we look to jump on anything Aaron's doing, but this is a lot to do about nothing. I think it was just, as he said, a little miscommunication between, if Saleh's not a hugger, you're certainly not expecting a hug at that point. Saleh was feeling pretty good about seeing his team finally play some good football, so he was just trying to hug anybody at that point. So, this is a lot to do about that, and I think I do think that he should be pretty happy with what he saw. Aaron Rodgers did not look like a man who was coming off of a torn Achilles. He was moving around, throwing on the run. He looked really good.
Yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers just needed to kick the rust off the first 2 weeks.
I think so.
The first week, he was really rusty against the 49ers. Second week against the Titans, he was good enough to get a win. And then last night, he was incredible.
He was carving last night.
But do I believe him? Yeah, because Robert Saleh was a defensive coordinator for the 49ers forever. He does do the chest push.
I've seen him do the
He loves the chest push. So that's where Aaron Rodgers was going, and he was so happy he went for the hug. And then it created an awkward moment, which is hilarious, and it's not like a contentious moment whatsoever.
No.
All right, that is it for the Big Five. We are going to head to break. When we get back, Sam Levitt is going to join me, kind of get this last regular season series at home for the Padres. We're going to set that up. We're also going to hear from Manny Machado from earlier today. So stick with us. We'll be back shortly here on 97.3 The Fan.
Hey, it's Annie from Annie and Elston. Sure, we'll talk Padres
Hi, Skraby. You're in my spot.
Yes, Sam, I got to say that when he showed up a little bit earlier, he saw me in his spot, and he was like, there's someone in my spot. And I understand that. I understand it.
I was very, very happy to see you taking advantage of the beautiful setup we have here inside the Western Metal Building, interacting with the fans. I mean,
yes.
I don't know if people realize this, they understand this, but when Matt Skraby makes his appearance inside the Western Metal Building, I mean, there are dozens upon dozens of fans that come out to see Skraby. In fact, it's a level of fanfare that I don't see here inside the Western Metal Building unless Skraby is here. That is not true.
That is insane to say because I have seen it myself. When we go out on the streets, there are swarms of people trying to say hi to you. There's swarms of people. So if you want to watch us right now, you can just go to YouTube, search 97.3 The Fan. We're in quite an intimate camera setting where Sam is very close to me. I'm not so used
I'm not that close.
I know. I'm a weirdo. I need 6 feet around me.
Our knees are almost touching.
Almost touching.
I'm a little close, but I like to get close.
Well, Sam, he is going to be doing the pre- and post-game show today, so stick around for that. Equal Water SoCal Padres pregame show here on 97.3 The Fan at 5:40. I understand you caught up with Jackson Merrill today.
I did. We'll play that during the pregame show, about a 4 or 5 minute interview with Jackson, and he was great. Talked to him a little bit about coming down the home stretch, playing in front of these sold-out crowds, about a couple of pretty good specific things. I think one of the maybe overlooked aspects of his rookie season is that he just has not gone through an extended slump. I mean, you really look at his numbers early, late in the year, doesn't matter. I mean, anytime he's had an 0 for whatever skid, 0 for 15, there was a 1 for 18 he had just in the past couple of weeks. He never has allowed, as a 20 to 21-year-old, a mini skid to become a slump for a couple of weeks. And I think that's one of the really impressive things about his season to this point. So we talk about that. We talk about what Manny's done. We talk about Manny's impact on Jackson. Manny's somebody that is a great guy to look up to, as you know, for a lot of reasons. But I think one of the most important ones is that he posts and he battles through injury and he just finds a way to play and contribute to his team. And look, for Jackson, he's in uncharted territory right now as far as games played, as far as going this deep into a season. I mean, he's never done this before when you think back to spring training and the amount of games, the amount of innings he's played.
He never played college baseball, right?
No.
So this is the most games he's ever played by a lot.
Yeah, and remember, in the minor leagues, you play basically 6 games, and then you have an off day every Monday, and Jackson had some injuries, so I mean, he's really in uncharted territory, and obviously he's done great. It hasn't seemed to play a factor at all. But we talk about that and a number of different things. Jackson, he's a great player. He's also a great interview, which I think we've all been grateful for here in San Diego on the media side of things. So we'll hear from Jackson. We'll hear a little bit from Fernando Tatis Jr. as well, from Mike Shildt, and a good pregame show coming up.
When we were talking to Manny, Tony and I earlier, he actually brought up Jackson Merrill as well. And it's kind of funny that you talked to Jackson Merrill about something that Manny talked to us about Jackson Merrill, which was he's been trying to help him to stay in the mindset of consistency. And you said it, posting. That's what Manny, that's his style of leadership, is posting, being out there every day, doing the work, showing everybody that this is how it's supposed to be done. And I think Jackson Merrill is going to learn so much from Manny Machado. And Manny Machado learned a lot from the guys that came before him, too.
Yeah, and look, I think they share a lot as far as young players who are really highly touted, who came up and had immediate impacts on their teams and had immediate success, and I think there's a lot to learn from Manny, certainly. So, look, Jackson's had an incredible year. We've talked about it so much. He's certainly deserving of Rookie of the Year. I hope he gets it. He's earned it. And it's been a lot of fun to watch him. And look, the Manny part of it, just while, you talked to him earlier, you're replaying the interview, right? Next?
Yes, next.
Okay. So for people that missed it, they can listen again. That's me plugging your interview.
Thank you very much.
That's,
Look at the professional over here.
Yeah, that's what they call a tease in the radio business, Skraby. You listen to my pre and post game show. I'll teach you a thing or two about a radio program.
Let me pull the curtain back on us a little bit. Sam and I are friends, obviously, but whenever I'm leaving the studio and Sam's coming into the studio for pregame, he always says, "This is how a real radio show operates." And so he says it every single time that I leave the studio, and I always say, I know. I'm never claiming that the Skraby show is a real radio show, but Sammy Lev does it right. He did tease Manny Machado perfectly. And now I'm going to say you'll have Jackson Merrill on the pregame show, which is a plug for your show as well.
We were talking about Manny. And by the way, I want to make that clear. That is not a knock on. It's a joke.
It's a joke. We have an inside joke, but he says it every time, and I say every time, like, I do. I'm learning. I'm learning from you.
But just to talk about Manny for a second, I mean, he has been so unbelievable, especially as of late, and really you go back a span of 3 months. I mean, I think that the date I keep looking at is either June 16th or June 19th. I've used both, and I have it written down for my pregame show today, and I should bring it up. And if you give me a second here, I will. Because I think it really says a lot, and I'm not breaking any news here. Kevin Acee had this this morning. Let me bring it up here with Manny. The number
is this the award-winning rundown that you have?
Yes, award-winning. So how about this? Since June 19th, Manny's got a 946 OPS, 23 home runs, and 71 RBIs. The Padres are 50-26 in that span. So, look, we've said for a long time that as Manny goes, the Padres go. It was true in 2022. It has certainly been true in the second half here in 2024. He when he gets it going, he's such a key component of this team. And, they have one loss when he has 2 or more RBIs in a game this season. So he's been tremendous. And to watch what he did on Wednesday, to watch what he continues to do as of late, it's been a pretty big key for what they've done so far in the second half.
So the pitching matchup tonight,
yes.
Sam Levitt, Matt Skraby here, 97.3 The Fan, getting ready for Sammy's pregame show. Pitching matchup tonight is Garrett Crochet and Joe Musgrove. Now, I talked about it just a little bit ago. Garrett Crochet, no one really knows how long he's going to go in games, but he's usually a 2-3 inning guy at this point in the year.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 at the most. So are the Padres just approaching this like, hey, we just got to get him out of the game? Because he's a good pitcher. He's not like when he could strike out 8 guys in 3 innings. That has happened this year.
Yeah.
But what's their approach, you think, tonight?
I think you're trying to get him out of the game. I mean, look, it's pretty interesting because he had a great first half of the year, obviously. He was heavy in those trade rumors for a reason. But starting in July, they've had him on a very strict workload limit. And you look at his last 5 starts, he's not hit 60 pitches in any of his last 5 starts. So, look, I'll be curious to see the approach for the Padres today. If they try to be patient and work him out of the game after 3 innings, get that pitch count up, make him throw 60 pitches in a couple of innings, in 3 innings, which is something they can do. They can work good at bats. The other interesting thing about Crochet, not just that he's been on a workload limit, he just has not been nearly as good, as effective in the last couple of months as well. So the name is big, and he was in all those trade rumors, but I don't know that he's super scary for all those reasons entering today. So we'll see. I don't know that you want your approach to be dictated by a workload limit because, hey, if it makes more sense and you can do more damage against him by getting out early in counts and swinging the bat. Look, that might be an approach. It'll be interesting to see how they approach him here today. But look, bottom line, and this is not to put too much pressure on this series, but every team's got to deal with it right now when they play the White Sox. Look, this is a team that unless they, I think it's win 7 of their last 9 games, which they have not done anything close to that all
year. That's an incredible streak for this team.
they're going to have the most losses ever in the modern era of Major League Baseball. So this should be a team you can win a series against, you can sweep. You don't want to put too much pressure on it because it's baseball and anything can happen. And hey, this White Sox team, they won 3 in a row earlier this week. So you never know, but yeah, you'd imagine even against Crochet tonight, the Padres have a really good chance to win tonight and win every night of this series.
We're getting ready for Sam Levitt's pregame show, EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on 97.3 The Fan. Tony and I did a countdown today of the top 5 AJ Preller moves of this year.
Okay.
And I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot for this one, but his number 1 was Jurickson Profar being signed for $1 million. That was the biggest move for AJ from the minute last season ended until today. My number 1 was Dylan Cease.
Okay.
Turning Drew Thorpe into Dylan Cease. I think that was a big move. Where would you go? I mean, you don't need to give me the one. What were your top couple? Because you got Donovan Solano, obviously, David Peralta, Luis Rise, all the Florida pitchers.
Yeah. Number 1 is tough. I'd say either Profar or look, I think you can make a case for getting Michael King back in that Soto deal.
That was a part of, that was one of ours.
I mean, I think Michael King has Cy Young caliber stuff. That's how good I think he is, and I think how good he could be next year with a full season of starting pitching under his belt. Profar, I think, is probably the number 1, right? Because there was a hole in left field when Soto was traded, a clear hole. Look, I tweeted it out the other day. When you think about the question marks the Padres had entering spring training, they had 3 outfield spots. We knew Fernando would be in right. Let's be honest, we did not know entering spring training who was playing center field every day and who was playing left field every day. And it ended up being Jackson Merrill and Jurickson Profar. And between them, they've combined, I think I said it was for 47 home runs, 169 RBIs, and they're almost hitting 290 together.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unbelievable, and a lot of that has to do with Profar. So I think when you consider the hole that was in left field when Soto was traded, the fact that they got that kind of value for Profar, they signed him for a base of $1 million. Man, you talk about value, you talk about production on the field, what he clearly means to this team inside the clubhouse, how integral a part of this group he is, how well he fits with this group. Yeah, I mean, I think it's got to be Profar, but look, AJ deserves a lot of credit. There have been so many moves that have worked, and that, you mentioned Rise and Cease. How about the acquisitions of Adam and Scott? I mean, how good has this guy Jason Adam been? And you got him, for a couple more years. And Tanner Scott and what it did. I mean, let's remember what their bullpen was before those trades. I mean, it was basically, hey, you had Estrada, you had Morjon, you had Suarez, but when those guys were unavailable or you had to go a different way with your bullpen, that was a huge issue for this team in the first half of the season. And with a couple of moves, he basically squashed that issue. And it's totally changed, I think, the trajectory of this team. So
I think they were kind of forced into making those moves. Not that AJ didn't want those guys, because obviously
they had to
he
pivot away from a starting pitcher, too. I think that was part of it.
Yeah, they did, because guys like Yuki Matsui, they started the year and he was being used a lot more.
Yeah.
But as the season went on, he was struggling more and more. They had to make a change because it wasn't going to get better.
Yeah, they didn't have a ton of depth and a ton of quote-unquote high-leverage guys that you were really trusting in those spots. So, look, I think you can point a lot of different directions with that question. I think Profar, hey, don't overlook just the fact that they had belief that Jackson Merrill was ready, and they nailed it.
Yeah, they did.
They absolutely nailed it. So, AJ deserves a lot of credit. This is certainly the deepest and is almost certainly going to end up being the most successful regular season team he's had. I mean, they should end up winning 90-plus games here. There's been a lot of really good moves that have worked out, from Profar to the trades to having belief that Merrill was ready to, picking up a guy like Jeremiah Estrada, right, who, we didn't necessarily know who he was at spring training, and then he comes up early in the season and bursts onto the scene. There are a number of moves that have led to what the 2024 Padres are, and it's probably been AJ's best work to this point. He deserves credit for that.
It definitely, in my opinion, his best work to this point. All right, that is Sam Levitt. He's going to be doing his EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here in about 25 minutes or so. It starts at 5:40. He had Jackson Merrill. He heard from Mike Shildt. So a lot more to come, a lot more stats to come. But on the other side, thank you, Sammy, by the way,
You're welcome.
for stopping by and joining us here on Gwynn and Chris. On the other side, we're going to hear from Manny Machado. He sat down, or actually he stood. Tony and I sat down for this interview, but Manny Machado talked with us, and I think you're going to want to hear this interview because it's going to tell you a lot about where Manny is right now.
Love it.
So
how about that? I mean, you have Manny, then we're going to start the pregame show. We've got Merrill, we've got Fernando, we've got Mike Shildt, we've got the ball game.
Where
on a
else
Friday
can you
evening,
go?
Where else are you going to listen on the radio than 97.3 The Fan?
Nowhere. That's
Nowhere.
the answer, Sam.
Nowhere.
That is the
you
answer.
hear that, Adam? Back in the studio, we're out here hustling.
I love you guys.
Adam has his hood on right now, so he's in Sith mode. But we are going to come back. Manny Machado on the other side, and have a good pregame show, Sam.
Thank you.
You're welcome. 97.3 The Fan. situation. Do you just get the drop off as soon as you walk in the door?
No. I mean, yes and no. Yes and no. I want to spend as much time as I can with them. You know, obviously, it's people don't really realize. I mean, we're gone for 7-8 days, and we don't really get to see him. So whenever I had the opportunity to be with him, you kind of just take that moment in and enjoy it. But yeah, no, my routine has been the same. You know, obviously focusing on baseball's number one and priority, obviously. But when I'm getting worked on at home, working out and stuff, he's around. He's on top of me sometimes. I put him on there just to spend as much time as I want, because obviously, we're gone and on road trip, and now I won't see him for 6 days, and it's tough.
Yeah, it's not something that people think about often as it pertains to athletes, and especially baseball, how much we're gone. Let's talk a little bit about the season. You're finishing up your 6th season here as a Padre. I would have to think this has been amongst the most fun seasons you've been a part. Just talk about what it's been like from the beginning to this point, and kind of the chemistry you guys have built.
Yeah, man, it's been awesome. Obviously, this year, I think that the closest year was that COVID year,
okay.
Where it was just us here, right. But this year, man, it's been different. The chemistry that we have with the group of guys. Oh man, it's just different. I honestly don't even know how to describe it.
Right.
I really don't, man. I mean, I think the closest to that I could say is we're all pulling on the same rope. We're all pulling for each other. I mean, you come in here, I think everyone's on the top step cheering on for, McCoy trying to get his first hit and up there trying to get down the bunt. Peralta up there, Solano. I mean, 1 through 9, 1 through 15.
I mean, we saw you come out on the steps when Lockridge got his butt single, like, I need that ball.
Yeah, let's get the ball. I mean, we're all pulling for each other, man, and
awesome.
It's fun. It's fun coming to the clubhouse every day. Everyone's always happy. Everyone's, checking up on each other. If we're hurt, we're banged up. We know what we're going through, and we're just in it together, man. I mean, at the end of the day, this is all we got right here is this family inside this clubhouse, and we're taking the next step on being together as a team.
Talking to Manny Machado here for Friar Friday, 97.3 The Fan. And what is it about this time of year that brings out the best baseball in you? Because, early in the year, you got the people on TV saying he's starting slow, but you have never wavered. You're always like, hey, I'm Manny Machado, things are going to work out. So what is it about this time of year?
I mean, it's this year's been different, obviously, for me because of the surgery. So it was this off season was a little tricky for me. I couldn't really have the same off season I've always had to prepare for this time of the month. But every year, I mean, I know what I put into it in the off season, how much I work, how much extra I put into it. That I know, yeah, it's going to be ups and downs, but my strength, my mentality is going to be ready for the end of the year. And you see the finish line, you see the finish line, and you just try to empty out the gas as much as you can, and just trust yourself. We've had spring training, we've had at bats, we've had a lot of time in the cage to work on your things. So at this point, is just go. I mean, don't think about it. Just go up there, swing the bat, play good defense, play base running. You just be prepared and go out there and enjoy yourself. And I mean, I hate to say it, but every year I know where I'm going to be at. At the end of the year, I know where, my goals are mentally, where I want to hit, how many home runs, how many runs I want to drive in. You kind of know that goal in the back of your head, and you're going to be there at the end of the year. Whether it's you're struggling early on, like I did this year, but you just trust the process at the end of the day, and I think that's the hardest part of this. And I'm trying to teach Jackson the same thing. Just trust the process, man. Just trust it, and at the end of the year, it's going to be there. It sounds cliche, it really does, but it's the honest truth. You just got to trust the process, and let's just let it come to you.
Lead guy Manny Machado here with us on Friar Friday, and Manny, you're pretty well known around these parks for your kind of stoic demeanor, right? We talked a little bit about early in the season. How do you block out the noise? Because it's one of the things that frustrates me as a former player, listening to a lot of the noise out there. I'm a big believer in the back of a baseball card, and yours is as consistent as they come. How do you block out that noise? If you even hear the noise, how do you block it out and just keep doing what you do? It's tough,
Obviously, sometimes when things aren't going great, I think it's the toughest. It's the toughest. I think this year we've been lucky that we have a good team. We've been playing really good baseball, and at the end of the day, it's about winning baseball games.
Right.
When things are going well and the team's winning, you don't really. I don't care what I did.
Yeah.
I don't care if we're winning games. I'm all right. I know where I'm going to be at the end of the year, right? So. Last year was a little bit different. I think we had a little bit more pressure. We weren't winning so many games. We had so many hot streaks, cold streaks, up and down, right about 500 battling. So I think you put a little bit more pressure on it, and you start hearing a little bit more of the outside noise. But this year's just it's like I said. You know where the baseball card's going to be. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to post every single day. I know I'm going to get my quality at bats. I didn't think I was going to get to 30 home runs, but here I am. I'm one away, which is awesome. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's this team's winning, and I think that's all that matters. That's all that matters, and you continue to win and provide and try to win by hitting home runs like we did the other day, win by making good defensive plays, or even win by getting, taking an extra base or stealing a base.
Which you guys do a lot of.
So whatever way we could possibly try to win, I think that's the most important part, and I think that's how you block out the noise.
Talking to Manny Machado here for Friar Friday, 97.3 The Fan. And Shohei Otani made history yesterday. He went 50-50, and he was 6 for 6, 3 home runs, all of the above. What's the difference between a 40-70 season like Ronald Acuna Jr. had and a 50-50 season like Shohei Otani is having?
Man, I don't know, man. They're both impressive. They're both impressive. Let's be honest. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, it's the difference is one played, one's DH. Right?
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest difference. You have Acuna going out there playing every single day, playing right field, Gold Glove caliber, outfield, stealing that many bases. I mean, it's hard, dude. I mean, I've never hit 40 home runs, so I can't tell you what that feels like. But I mean, I bet it feels great. And obviously, no one's. I don't think anything Otani does now seems to impress people or surprise people, right? I mean, he could do it all. I mean, pitch, hit. I think the only thing he has left is Cy Young, which he's probably going to try to come and do it next year.
Yeah.
But man, it's great for the game. It's great for the sport. It's just awesome for baseball and awesome to see. I mean, I love when players do things that are in the record books.
You signed here 6 years ago. After this season, it'll be 6 years ago. Earlier last week, you were able to reach the top of the list for home runs as a San Diego Padre. does any of this stuff like register to you in the moment? Like how big of a deal that is? I mean, it's taken a long time for somebody to get on top of that list. You've been here now for almost full 6 years. You've been able to do that. I'm sure there are going to be other lists that you are climbing up as well. How important is that to you, the fact that it's with an organization that you kind of took a chance on?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I haven't even, it still hasn't really sunk in.
Yeah.
You know, I think about it. Obviously, I wanted to get to the number. I knew what the number was. Even coming into the beginning of the season, I said, I got to hit 26 homers, right?
So you were aware coming
I
into
was
the
aware.
season.
I was aware. I'm not going to lie. But you know what? I mean, it's now you realize it. I didn't know it was 50 years that I hadn't been broken. It was holding on. I mean, it's just... It's an honor. I mean, it's special. It's a special moment. You know, I think maybe you ask me in a couple of years, ask me next year, maybe I have a different answer for you. And but I mean, I appreciate it. I mean, it's beautiful. It's awesome. You know, hopefully I got many more here. I was talking to my wife the other day about it. It's like, man, I mean, you look up at it, right? I made the record. This is when I broke the record. And I looked up, I'm like, man, I still got 9 years left here.
Right?
Right? I got
Do
9
some
years
damage.
left. I mean, and I had 6. So that means I'm gonna have a Padre uniform for 16 plus years. 16 plus years I'll have a Padre uniform, and I think that's what's special to me, and I think that's what's you know, that's what I'm gonna, you know, I think that's what I'm gonna cherish the most, is just having one uniform for almost my entire career.
I think that when it's all said and done, that's when people will truly, truly appreciate what you've been able to accomplish. I mean, 6 years is a lot of time, but as you said, 16 is a whole lot more. So we appreciate you coming on, spending some time with us, man. Terrific season to this point, man. You guys are a lot of fun to watch, and you got all of us behind the whole city, man. Thank you for your time.
No problem. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, that's it for Gwynn and Chris. Thank you to Manny Machado. Thank you to everybody for joining us. Thank you to Sam Levitt for joining us. Final. Oh, thank you, Sam. Thank you very much. Final regular season series for the Padres here. Sammy Lev up next with the Eco Water SoCal Padres pregame show on 97.3 The Fan.